Welcome in. Thank you so very much for being here. I surely do appreciate it. We are live with Legacy First Flight Omni. What's going on, homie?
Hello, everyone. I'm the Last Omnitect, your favorite robot American, and welcome, Voyagers, to Legacy First Flight, our faster than light. Oh, hold on, there we go. Our faster than light TTRPG campaign. Thank you guys for being here. So, we know how to start these sessions off, which is a recap of what's happened. And let's get a full recap from the beginning of this arc. What has happened? Inform the audience. Assume no one was there. Go.
Not me. Not it.
Whoever does this is going to get an extra mode of legacy.
Okay, I'll give it an attempt.
I just don't want to start.
Because, okay, so, way back in the beginning, however long ago that was, a new person came aboard a planet that was trying to be reconfigured to be hospitable. That new person had a hacking war with Becky and kicked the shit out of her, hackingly speaking. He then was apparently in charge of deciding whether or not the planet was worth continuing investing money and time and resources in. Thank you, Loki. We don't need help. So he went to talk to the local bosses where Amaya was. She is a gelatinous cube, effectively, a gelatinous blob. And he's the helper of these two bosses who are basically in charge of whether or not they the resources are spent. Myself, I'm just here lifting heavy objects out of the ocean mostly. Working alongside Becky. In the first session, we basically saved everybody. We got no thanks for that because that crap was going to explode. It was then discovered that there's actually a secret object way off into the distance. There's a secret thingamabob, a MacGuffin, some might say. So we were all then tasked, all four of us, were then tasked to go find out about the MacGuffin. I took my big-ass mech suit that makes me stomp around and lift heavy things. It was very exciting. Went over there. Turns out there were some bug guys there. First, there was some little mole rat type things. I apologize, Omni. I'm not remembering everything's names. Little
rock hoppers. You're good.
Yeah. Me and Kushitaka basically became a two-man fucking beast unit and started playing American football with them and
I've never heard someone use that as an adjective / verb. I'm very pleased.
That was beautiful. That was poetic.
So we succeeded in killing the little mole rat things. I think one is still in the ground somewhere as I drilled it down there. Kushitaka was snipering bastards left, right, and center. Great move. We continued towards a MacGuffin item in the cave. There were some proper bad guys there that we had to sneak around under. Including some spooky wild shit. Don't think we interacted. I think we distracted them by playing some R&B music. I think misremembering this a bunch. We got into the cave. I missed a session. Nothing important happened. We got into the cave. We found the MacGuffin. It's an incredibly racist but very clever AI robot. It became Bezzy's with Becky because that's the only race it liked. Because again, incredibly racist but very clever AI robot. We then left the cave. I missed a session. Every time I missed a session, just assume Kushitaka has blown something up, including himself. We made it back to our bosses, who basically said, yeah, leave. This racist robot is hella powerful. Needs something to do with that. So we got to the bases, and then a bunch of mechs turned up, and we were like, pa, 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 pa! To them, Kushitaka hacked every cooling system in the galaxy and made them all overheat and explode with at least 16 exploding dice.
It was insane.
I gave one fucking T-800 Terminator 2 bullshit thing that could transform at a moment's notice a very aggressive hug, and then I splattered it with my screen. Amaya and Becky were pow the people from the side while hiding behind boxes. So we're like, choo, 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 choo. We succeeded. Omni's let's see if you can survive 3 rounds and then rescue will come, was completely blown out the water because we just basically let off nuclear bombs. And now we're flying into the sky in a spaceship.
Damn, that was really concise.
Yeah, no, that was really good. Does anyone have anything that you'd like to add or extrapolate? Paul, that was such an extensive one.
Yes.
I did not expect this, so Have
The exception of
two
all
modes
the
of
names.
legacy. Have 2 modes of legacy, and one of them will guaranteed turn into an extra experience point at the end of the session. That
Oh, that's
was
very nice.
really fucking long. Thank you. I appreciate you. That was more thorough than I expected. I'm not gonna lie. Who wants to go next?
Yeah.
So Kushitaka was this strange person that was coming to this new planet, and he had consigned like I forgot the number. It's like 50 something or something like that. It was a really high number of other planets that have failed to meet expectations, failed to meet the standards that the Union set, and he condemned for everybody to basically go back to sleep and be shipped off to another planet to try again. There was one time before that it didn't work out, and he did sign off on it, and so he's like, "Fuck, I can never let that happen again." And then when he gets here, he sees that everything's really not working good because there's like water issues with the planet. You know, that thing that basically all life as we know it is dependent on to survive. And they didn't have their water was no good, effectively. They didn't have no good water. Sorry, it's just a funny, it's a funny way to say it. But yeah, so we along this journey when we met that the super hyper intelligent AI person thing. Becky asked him as we were leaving on that spaceship to fix the planet's water problems, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no problem," and just goes like boop, and it fixed like a problem that would take thousands of years to rectify in like 4 hours, which was pretty
At
fucking
least decades
hard.
of like work.
Yeah, it would take way longer, but he did it like in an afternoon, which is pretty cool. So Kushitaka signed off on that planet and said, like, yep, this is viable, and left his final report for the Union as far as he's concerned, saying, like, yep, it's good. Send people here.
Okay. It's pretty good to me. All right. Take yourself a moment of legacy. Who else? Anyone else have anything they want to add? That can include introducing the characters, what they are, who they are, species, their careers, or any other details that might have been missed, by all means.
I feel like that'll come out as we play.
I mean, that's fair. But at very least, introduce who you guys are to the party, to like to the folks out there watching. Because right now there are 4 icons of various, depending on what someone's perception might be, could be household pets and then a human. So
I'm the bird person.
Human. Is that
Yes.
not our group of 3 household pets?
It is 100% the group. Yes.
Yeah.
So Derek, you are.
I'm the Acris Kushitaka. He is a nocturne, which is not the standard garden variety Acris. They come from a very specific part of their homeworld called the Shattered Canopy. And he is really fucking good at hacking. Like, just unbelievably good at getting in your area, and then, like, that was a Death Grips reference. And then just, like, you come out, your shit is gone. Also, your mech cascade reactor, and now your Kirby servant sandwich is named after me.
Perfect, buddy. That's good. So an Acris operator, Kushitaka, that'd be Derek.
Operator,
So
that's the thing I was going to say.
You're good. So let's see. Who wants to go next for their character introduction?
I can.
All right.
Becky is a human engineer who has definitely been traumatized by how much death and destruction has just happened. Pupper on screen!
Bupper! Oh my god, bonus.
Sweet
bonus.
as baby.
He smelled it. He was like stressed.
So you were saying, so human engineer?
Yes, who has been traumatized by basically everything that's happened. But she came to the planet to prove something and she failed. So she's going to be a little grumpy, but we're kind of moving along.
Hey, you know what? I think your character can very safely say they have succeeded. They literally terraformed a world in an afternoon. Like, actually in like 15 minutes.
But not because of her efforts, more because of the AI.
Yeah, still. So that would be Bond as me playing the human engineer. Then we have 2 more players. Who wants to introduce your characters fast?
Louis, you want to go first?
Yeah, you'll go first. Oh no, I'll go first. Oh, that's
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, hello, I'm Louis Vuitton. I'm a sylph jockey. I walk around mostly in a mech suit. I've grown weirdly attached to Becky as the first and only friend that I've generated, and incredibly afraid of Kushataka. But in my defense, he does keep blowing stuff up. Like, you're getting down now. Up,
Mechs
down.
specifically. The things that he rides
Yeah.
around in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out. They don't want to play with you. Get out.
Oh, baby.
So yeah, that's me. I've been chilling, blowing stuff up, and I have a big gun and a badass fucking sword.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So that would be our friend Paul playing as the ever amazing Louis Vuitton. And then finally, we have JJ. JJ.
Hello, everyone. I'm JJ, and I am playing Amaya, who is this lovely little bean right here, third icon from the left. And she is basically, I like that Paul described me as a gelatinous mass because that's low-key what I am. I'm basically like a huge jellyfish alien, and I love that for me. And let's see, I am the negotiator of the group, which is hysterical because my character has little experience with other species and therefore is like the space equivalent of socially awkward when it comes to other species. So at least the ones that she hasn't encountered quite yet. So she was on the planet where we first started our sunning in. That was actually her first assignment. Other than that, she's
Barrel Dime.
Yeah, Barrel Dime. She's spent most of the time with just like Oriname, like her fellow Oriname. And so going on this adventure is going to be really interesting for her, and I look forward to seeing how she kind of grows as a character, from being like this socially awkward negotiator to being like this well-rounded one. I'm excited for that journey for her. Let's see. I would say that if she is closest to anyone in the group, I would say it's probably Kushitaka, just because of the fact that she can kind of she appreciates, number one, the fact that he just blows shit up. That's amazing.
And he backs you up.
He just goes control, enter, boom. Love that for him. And I think it's also because she likes the fact that he can see things kind of rationally in a way like, oh no, we have to kill these people. Like there's nothing else we can really do here. They're not trying to talk, so they just gotta die. She likes the kind of pragmatic sense of him that can do that.
Your mutual sociopathy is in fact a source of like player cohesion, which I like.
Yes. It's like, so we're gonna blow this shit up? We're gonna blow this shit up. Yeah.
Alrighty. So that's great. I think that is everyone introduced. Pretty much. So, folks, are we ready to begin then?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Excellent. And also, I don't know why, just for the record, I want to make this abundantly clear. I don't know why it has not been playing music. It has been struggling to do that. I'm going to fix that right now.
It's all good.
So,
the loop button probably just got misclicked or something.
You know what? They all got turned off for some reason. There must have been an update or something. That would explain it.
It did update this week, actually.
That is why. Mother. Anyway, so picking up where we left off. Players, you all, if I can get this. Here we go. So we're going to start with this. Just make sure we got that. Yes, that is looping. Players.
Can't
At
hear
the
you.
end of the last set, no.
Oh, there you go. Nope.
Okay, good. Everything is trying to be difficult right now.
Your voice is just too beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You're too sweet, sunshine. So, as our players ended last session, the ship they were flying on managed to get clear of the atmosphere, and in one final act of sort of like a Hail Mary to save the planet they were having to flee, they used this incredibly powerful relic they had, known as a stellar forge, to try to purify the planet's atmosphere and environment of heavy metals, which this machine not only did, but did in seconds, a task that should take years. of concerted effort and managed to turn it into a wholly separate moon, which now orbits stably around the planet. You guys literally are going to pick up about like 5 minutes from seeing this from the back of this little ship, this Galapagos lander. These things are not very rugged. These things are like super rugged, but not like super efficient or advanced. You've seen them going up and down on the planet's gravity well plenty of times. And shortly afterwards, I believe you guys also witnessed a large, or not a large, but like a medium-sized Acris, or sorry, not Acris. It's one of those mornings, guys. Synthetic destroyer pop into orbit and obliterate the Amber Cross warship that had been bombarding your settlement. So, a couple of minutes go by, and I really would like this to do me a favor and open. Okay, thank you. Goodness, this is just being all sorts of difficult today. Here we go.
Well, you also have like hundreds of pictures.
Yes,
that you've been drawing.
Doing my best. All right, so here we go. Let's see. Bob, can you mute your mic in the audio settings?
It is muted.
It is muted. It's just mine.
No, the on the computer side.
Oh, you need to go in your settings and mute it on
Yeah.
the settings side because apparently it's picking up for.
That's why we're getting like double omni captions. I literally just figured that out. I was like, wait a second.
Clever.
Oh,
Okay.
that's why. Yeah,
That's fair. Okay.
it's
We'll
fine.
work on
We'll
it.
get it figured
Yeah,
out.
we'll work on it
It's
during the break.
it's not a problem right now.
Okay. So, the Voyager who came to rescue you guys from the planet had managed to get you out of a surprisingly hot spot, and you guys set onto a ship which, so far, had not appeared on any of the settlement's sensors. In fact, actually, it's pretty much invisible. The whole thing is painted black with a reflective sheen, so until you get close to it, it just looks like more stars. Until you get under the underside of it and see small lights picking out from the bottom, and occasionally little sensors scanning the ship as you approach. Slowly it settles down around the back into a cargo hold. And this thing's probably about like, I want to say 3/4 of a kilometer long. So about the size of like a small freighter or a very small attack craft. And inside, it is bustling with personnel, like a metric ton of them. And eventually the doors open. I believe, as we recall, your mech was really kicked to crap, wasn't it, Paul? Of course, the second I ask. Let's see. So, Paul, as I recall, your mech was kicked to crap. Am I wrong on that?
You are not wrong, sadly. My mech is falling to pieces. I'm sort of limping along, dragging my like railgun behind me, like, guys.
Yeah, your multi-missile launcher is like probably the nicest part of your mech right now.
Yeah.
The rest of it's kind of falling apart. Actually, at this point, I think the multi-missile launcher is offline. The only thing that can function is like one arm, according to the new rules.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who have not seen it, this would be his mech, Brock.
Ooh, look at that beauty.
Yeah, Brock is not doing too hot. The inside of the thing is literally blinking and beeping, and it's emitting a surprising amount of smoke from what should be a combustionless engine. Eventually,
the check engine light is on, guys. The check engine light is on.
Eventually, the little your thing has an onboard computer, and you can see the camera sort of fixes you this little like look inside the cockpit, and then wink, the light turns off, and the whole thing powers down and clambers to the ground as the cockpit opens up and spills you onto the decking as your mech finally dies.
Check engine light is no longer on. Bad news, nothing is on. That is bad. Does anybody have a wrench?
Around you, there's teams of engineers sort of like looking at you guys and looking at the person who got you here, Shada, who is the Voyager who you met on the planet, the Anazali. And he looks at them and goes, well, you heard the man. Help him with his mech. Everyone else, welcome. This is our ship. Please, make yourselves at home. I believe we have things to discuss, but you probably had a busy day. Would you like to have some rack time, or would you like to just get round down to business?
Becky is going to
I'd
prefer
like
to
to
know
lie
where
down.
the mech is. Yeah.
He's looking at all of you. So Becky said, "What was it again?
I'd prefer to go to where the mech is.
The mech is okay. Well, it's going to be worked on inside of here for the next few minutes. So, and Paul, you're going to be hanging out with Becky.
Mhm.
What about the rest of you?
What do you know about the people that are going to be coming after us?
A fair bit. First, you're going to be coming with me, though. If you want to talk about that, we're not doing that here. It's not that I don't trust the people on this ship. Simply put, I don't want to put their lives needlessly in danger, or for that matter, complicate their tasks. They're engineers. That's their job. This
Yeah.
ship is technically commissioned by us. It's ours, but the crew, they don't need to be complicated with matters of Voyagers. They just need to get us here and there.
Kushtaka nods and says, then I would like to discuss this now. Lead the way.
Very well. I can get a ready room ready for you. Does anyone else wish to come with us? I am more than willing to accommodate any.
Yeah, I'll go
Yes,
as
Chief.
well. Seems important.
All right.
I will
Also,
also
slightly up, we did have a hydrate by Ladybug's Tavern. I don't know if everyone drank.
thank you.
Oh, thank you. Can I have a sip of that, OJ? Ah, perfect.
Would I be able to contact any of my fathers?
Not from your handheld.
Okay.
You're going to need to sit down and sync up to this ship's network more properly. While you're here, you can immediately know that, like, at the moment, your wrist links are accessing the ship's local infrastructure. It is not letting you go further. The shipboard AI is suppressing outgoing messages for obvious reasons. So if you want to send out messages, you're probably going to need to ask them, because they're clearly trying to run silent on this ship. You know, the rational thing. Who else wants to go with him? Because he's basically offering you to either explore the ship, get yourself some rest, or come with him to talk.
I'll explore the ship.
I would also like to go with them to discuss the people coming after us.
Okay.
I'm going to explore the ship, actually. I kind of forgot that might be an option. I'm going to explore the ship.
I figured I'd remind. All right. So, as Shadal looks at the two of you. All right, then. Well, the two of you being Becky and Louis. Well, you two have the run of the place. There's nowhere off limits, and if it is, the door is locked. So just don't go picking any locks and pissing me off, all right? Bill, get out here. Make yourself known. And he just walks over to the side of the lander's bang bang on the side of it. And the thing opens up. And out of it comes Click. A very vibrant, like a dull green, like dry leaf green Click. He's very much a leaf hopper style Click in the sense that he has a bunch of sharp little thorns on him and a bunch of equipment integrated into his armor. And as he slides out, now what do you need? They would probably like a tour, the two of them. Let me handle the others if you're willing to talk with them. Really? I gotta do that?
I mean, is Cogsworth with us?
Cogsworth is absolutely behind with you.
So yeah, can't we just like, hey, it would be a good opportunity to see what they can offer.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. Cogsworth, who is with you at the moment, just sort of looks up and... Fine. I'll go with, too. I suppose. I'm just still a little nervous about this whole arrangement, but whatever. Business is business. Let's get to it. And you can see this other Click sort of looks at Cogsworth's fluffy orange body and then narrows his eyes, his shimmering green eyes. Oh, you're one of those merchants, aren't you? And you have a problem with merchants. Let's just get walking. and he just starts slowly inching his way along the panels towards a door, waiting for you guys to catch up. The other members of the fire team, when Shada has you two alone, says, "All right, let's go get you set up inside of a room. We'll start talking there." So, who wants to go first?
I'm happy to let the those two go first.
All right. If you two are all right with that.
Yes.
Okay, so then, after a couple of minutes of walking through the ship, you can actually see that the interior of this place is kept very neat. This ship is run like a ship of a fleet, not like some mercenary craft. All the crew are wearing nicely pressed uniforms. They're highly professional. And as Shadaw's walking through the ship, a couple of them give him salutes. You can tell this is a commissioned ship, because the interior of it is very clearly like crewed by multiple individuals, some of whom are a little newer than others, but they all are wearing the same uniform, and they all appear to be meeting a certain standard that's been set by this fire team. Shada eventually leading you through these winding hallways, which you can actually see as you're walking. Below you, a series of lights light up on the floor, directing where you're going. Literally like a living map. And eventually, you end up inside of a small, beautiful room. The wall paneling is half wood, half polished black glass. The floor is a very soft, kind of cushy carpet. But in the center, there is a single table, which appears to be made out of like a solid cylinder of black glass. As Shada approaches, the room seals behind you guys, and you can see that the walls all briefly flash with a series of bright equations and very quick programming lines before the entire room slowly pulses red, and a series of green trim lighting around the top of the room ignites. And you can see behind you the indicator that says "Room Sealed" turns on. Shada walks around the table, and then finally, for the first time for you guys anyway, removes his helmet, revealing a tan Anazali with bright green eyes. He slowly stretches his neck, and you can see that the long, ropey, tendril-like hair that the Anazali have, he actually has his cropped relatively short and tied up in a bun. Very utilitarian. All right. So, you want to know who's chasing you and what they're going to do, right?
Nods.
Well, I have good news and bad news. Good news. As far as I can tell, no one is going to be chasing you for the foreseeable future until they find out about what you have. I'm pretty sure the Amber Cross was just wiped out. They're a small mercenary company. I did a little bit of due diligence once I saw them in orbit, had my crew begin to run their background. They have 1 or 2 warships, but that Elias gentleman, whose FOF tag got removed while I was landing, I'm still not going to ask about that, how you managed it, but he was their CEO. So, they are leaderless. It will be a while until they get themselves reorganized, and if they decide to come after you, then they will. The more concerning problem will be who hired them.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
He just sort of nods. Good, then your head's in the right place. That said, who hired them, that's difficult. I haven't been able to find out. Whoever this person is, they've routed significant funding through multiple channels. If I weren't a betting man, I wouldn't be putting pretty much all my weight behind that it is some form of governmental entity. Not as big as a species government, though. Something smaller, regional. It's strange. The amount of current being moved was significant. Many millions. We're talking something in the order of 750 million current for an open contract? Only governments move that kind of coin. Very few individuals have that. Occasionally, some Voyager teams might have that much coin, but I doubt they'd be hunting so diligently for it. They just do it themselves. So, the employer is still a mystery. It does mean you need to be careful.
Say we took matters into our own hands instead of just being chased all across the galaxy. Say we wanted to turn the tide, find out who's behind all of this, and eliminate them as a threat ourselves. Not under any delusions that that's going to be something that's quick, fast, or easy. But with time and training,
it would be possible, depending on how you do it. You see, the real limitation you're facing right now is that you are all, well, let's be honest, now unemployed, effectively. If you choose to maintain your prior career, then, well, good luck to you, but very likely, if someone was interested enough to hire the Ember Cross as a mercenary group, they are likely not the only mercenary faction in Retainer that they possess. Furthermore, there is also the rather significant matter of when more people begin coming. It wasn't just a mercenary crew I saw down there. There was a strange friend or foe tag. Couldn't quite identify it at first, but I had my crew poured over. Sarah took a look at it, and she found that it's tied to a biotech cult. You don't often see them doing big moves. You didn't encounter anything weird down there,
did you
right?
happen to see the front of Louis' frame?
What, the giant blood splotch? I just assumed that was something you acquired while you were getting out.
No, I'm talking about the mech. The front of the mech? That
Yes.
was one of those things.
He leans forward onto the table, which, this glass cylinder. And as he puts his hand across it, you can see the table begins to light up, and immediately, wherever his hand goes, it outlines it. You can see it's reading both his biometrics and unlocking system access. And as he does, he presses a comm button, and the lighting at the top of the room quickly, dims back to normal. He says, "Captain, do me a favor. Send a scrub team down to the landing bay. That mech that came in with us, I want it quarantined until it's completely scrubbed. Also, get biosamples from it." "Aye, sir." And he takes his hand off, and the lights immediately dim back down again, and it re-silences the room. That is concerning. There are very few biotech cults, and the ones that exist tend to, well, let's just call them what they are. They go by the term the Resonant Subversive. They're an antiquity of humankind. 200 years ago, humanity had their faction wars, but not all of them fought in giant robots. One of their sub-factions went by the term the Resonance Conjunction before they were forced to take on the Subversive. The purpose, their belief, was that humankind should stick to their planet and heal their world before they go and spread across the stars. In and of itself, a not entirely unlaudable goal. A little extreme, in my opinion, but understandable, given the humans' inability to properly manage their environment. However, they started off as a reasonable ideal, and very swiftly descended into acts of mass murder and terrorism. Apparently, it wasn't too big a leap for them to assume that if humans shouldn't be off-world, any off-world location is a target. They then began delving in rather unpleasant acts of biological manipulation. Last I heard, they were only really active towards the end of the faction war. Their founder was killed, and so they've been underground operating in smaller cells. Apparently, whoever has hired the Amber Cross also managed to get a hold of one of them and is leveraging them towards this end.
So the people that are ultimately behind all of this have access to far more resources than anything that anybody in here can take on by themselves, is what you're telling me.
All at once? Yes. However, this is also to your advantage. These pieces are not easily arrayed. This is going to be a shadow play for you. The good news is, whoever's searching for this is trying to cover their tracks. And the Union is not particularly kind with would-be tyrants and mass murderers. So whoever is behind this is trying their best to avoid antagonizing the Union. Their need for secrecy is likely your biggest advantage. So you're not going to worry about armies marching after you yet, unless you make yourself a big enough, static enough target.
So we stay on the move. We pick apart each piece as we can until we back them into a corner.
Indeed. I imagine that might be your best option. However, before you do this, we're taking a trip to the Mantle. I am someone who needs to talk to you.
Yes, I suppose they'll want as much debrief as we can provide. I'm sorry, what's the Mantle?
Okay, no, that's fair. So, the Mantle is the galaxy's capital. The Union, which is the Union of Sapient Species, the big overarching government of all the big 8, they operate out of this one treaty organization. The Mantle was made almost 2,000 years ago by the Acris and the Anazali, with what was remaining of their most advanced technology before they began their new era together. It is a Dyson ring, sitting at 1 astronomical unit from its star. It is a true Dyson ring. So imagine Halo. Now imagine if Halo was as wide as the Earth and orbited at its orbit all the way around. That's the Mantle. It's the seat of galactic government and also a backup homeworld for any of the 8 in case anything were to happen.
Yeah, I suppose I could just hand in my resignation in person.
If you see the need to, yes. Something tells me they're going to do their best to cover this up.
I don't think that I'm going to be a planetary prospector for much longer.
I suspect the Frontier Corporation is currently doing their best to bury you in their books.
Yeah, we'll say I died or whatever.
Or likely that you were just never employed in the first place. Either way. Don't take it personally, kid. It just happens.
Well, that's all I needed to know. Amaya?
As far as as far as my employment goes, I'm still employed. So I'm pretty sure it won't be too much of a hassle, Kushitaka, to talk to Arctos or Yulei and see if we may be able to place you in such like a inconspicuous employment. I don't think that would be that way you can at least have some coin coming to you in some form or another.
Actually might have a solution for you all. Maybe. If you're interested in that. It may serve all your goals. As private citizens, you have very little means by which to protect yourselves. And frankly, it's very easy to disappear someone on some backwater somewhere. However, there are benefits to stepping into the light and becoming legitimized. You may want to consider my career. In fact, it's the person we're going to go meet. Being a Voyager is exciting and fun. Gives you many opportunities to travel the galaxy. You have carte blanche to carry whatever arms and means you can. And you operate within a relative gray area of the Union's legal jurisdiction. You can go where you please, dig wherever you'd like, so long as you don't piss off any local authorities too much. Might be a good way to get answers. Of course, it's a career that basically puts you front and center into dangerous locations, but considering your current predicament, everywhere would be a dangerous location. At least this would let you arm yourself for it.
Amaya's going to be intrigued and thinking to herself about how beneficial that is. In the fact that, number one, that would allow her to gain more experience with other species, other forms of authority, which would kind of meet her ends. Her end goal of becoming like a top, like galactic negotiator, building connections, which something we could possibly call upon later. So I'm intrigued, but I'll say that seems like a very lucrative offer. But of
Well,
course, like all offers.
Don't get too excited. I'm suggesting it. It'd be my
Right.
boss who decide whether or not you'd be allowed to.
True, but that is something to think about if we were to want to try to pursue that with your boss. So definitely something to think about. I think a lot of what's going on right now is that really we have a lot of questions that we need answers to. Not all of them are going to be easy answers to find, but I think with a little bit of time, we should be able to. As far as this person, this mastermind, if you will, who's behind all of this entire debacle that we find ourselves in, I think as good as they're trying to catch themselves or erase their trace, eventually they're going to slip. Eventually they'll leave something behind that will reveal more of who they are. And then we'll find our answer in terms of how we can and go about and figure out how we can go about eliminating them as a threat to us.
I think that'd be a very fair assessment. I'm sure that Oren would have more to talk to you about in regards to that. My boss, Oren Self-Novelian, Anazali Ambassador and Director of the Voyager program. Basically, King Pirate, if it makes you feel better. So, he would be the one who would have more insight on this. I like to keep my job closer to the Earth, metaphorically speaking, as humans would say.
You're getting down. Okay.
Oh, baby, though.
What are you doing?
The truth of the matter is that I focus my job on relic acquisition and assisting others when necessary. But the bigger political thing, that's for someone else's group to handle. Me? I like getting in and out, quiet and discreet. Hell, it's the reason I used the linear cannon to take down that transport, and why we used the Galapagos to get back here. Basically, the Toyota Camry of interstellar craft. It's not exactly discreet to use our more advanced craft. If I had Bill drop down in his personal avatar and smash face, they'd know we were there. And if I used my weapon of choice, and he holds up what appears to be just a simple rod, which is actually depicted in the art that I showed you. It has two soft, glowing, almost rods of what look like light on each end. It's not much bigger than like a baton. Well, you'd see that from orbit, and they would know I'm there. He slides it away.
How do I
Discretion.
get my hands on those?
I know Amani's gonna like shift her jelly to like get a little taller. Like, ooh, look at that. being being that like most of my weapons are like handheld weapons. Ooh, what is that?
So he sort of chuckles a little bit and puts it on the table. Good luck. I found this one on an old Anazali freighter, one of the ghost ships we've uncovered over the past couple of centuries. That particular one there is one of a kind. I have not seen a war blade like this for a while. Technically, I guess the proper term would be Shalanti, which roughly translates to Needle of Intent. I call it Shalantayala, the Exile's Needle. You'll find things like this all across the galaxy if you look well enough. And he literally just twirls it in his hand. And as you can see, as he does, it actually extends in length and then contracts as he's toying with it. It's a useful little gadget. And, more importantly, untraceable. And he slides it into his belt. Except for the well-denoted effects. The real limitation that you face as a Voyager, you have to report whatever you find. Which, honestly, for you probably won't be that big a deal, because the big thing that you have, you will need to report anyway. A Stellar Forge is not an inconsequential find. Speaking of, do you have it with you right now? I'd very much like to see it.
No, I do not.
I don't have it.
Well, where is it?
Well, you yourself are an Anazali, correct?
I am, yes.
So I think out of the four of us who've joined your ship, I think you can kind of guess which one of us it likes the most.
He pauses and looks at you.
It's such a trap.
And he's going to pause and go, and we're going to cut to the other crew.
Nice.
So, thank you. We are at an hour in. Does anyone need a break?
I do need to go to the bathroom, actually.
Yeah.
I need a bio.
Perfect time for a bio break. Let's get it done, folks.
All right. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with more Legacy. Thank you so very much for waiting. Surely do appreciate it. Omni, what's happening?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Legacy First Flight. So, where we left off, Shada was currently talking with Maya and Kushitaka about what the future might look like for them. And we cut over to Becky and to Louis walking through the halls, being led by a one Bill, the pilot who took you guys out. And by took you guys, I mean took you out of the hot spot that you were in. He did not kill you. Now, also going with you is Gallant, he was also with you all in this whole like nonsense thing, and he's sticking by you at the moment. So Gallant and Cogsworth, your two party NPCs, are sort of vibing in the background as you're walking through the hallways, and Bill is leading the way, but it's not a very good tour. He's literally just going, and this is another hallway, and yet another pretty much similar hallway. At least engineering, you're not allowed in there. Down there's the commissary. If you want food, we can get you some, but, you know, it's a cafeteria. You've eaten at them before.
Do I make a roll to see if there's anything I need to... I can improve upon immediately? Just as like a flex?
You can certainly try. Make me an engineering roll.
Okay.
Or, you know what, better yet, for this, awareness. Make it an awareness check.
Okay.
You get the feeling this Bill has been walking you through the hallways. At very least, Bill seems to be the dry sort. He's also
That
surprised.
was...
Let me take a look and see. What do you get? What do you get? That explodes. Keep rolling.
Okay.
It's the highest number keeps going. So that's a 16 total on your roll. As you're walking through the ship, you realize something a little weird. This ship does not look like any ship you recognize. You are human, and that doesn't entitle you to know what every human ship looks like, but you're also an engineer who's specialized in repairing ships for your fathers for like most of your life at this point. So you're pretty familiar with most ships of the line. At very least, you've seen them coming and going through orbital platforms and stuff like that. So this isn't your first time seeing a ship. This ship, not only not human, but it has human technology integrated into it, as well as also several other technological bases. Just by looking at the way the circuitry runs, there's Anazali technology in this ship, there's human technology, there's a lot of Acris technology, and you even see a little bit of synthetic technology woven in. The way this ship is built, this ship was commissioned and is a custom design. It is not a ship of anyone's line. They didn't even use a baseline design. From what you can tell just by looking at the infrastructure and the layout, this ship was likely personally commissioned by this fire team. And they likely contracted multiple contractors to make different parts of it and had someone else assemble it. They might even have their own assembly bay, which would entail having their own orbital, at very least. Some space station that they operate out of discreetly elsewhere. But whatever it is, it's big enough for them to build a fucking ship in it.
Do they have a forge?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say...
not a stellar one, but a ship like this, they definitely have access to very powerful, top-of-the-line industrial forges. The ship is probably more advanced than most of the human military ships you've seen. And human technology is no slouch in this universe. We are not the dumb idiots in the galaxy. For everyone out there who's curious watching, humans have been in the galaxy for 200 years at this point. Humans are not the bottom of the barrel. We are solidly a middling species technologically, and technically, humans are the best roboticists in the galaxy. And the foremost authority on AI, at least until the synthetics walked around literally being AI. So, this is impressive to you. At a glance, there's nothing to repair or to make better. There's stuff to maybe learn from. This is like a flying doctoral thesis on ship design.
Alright. So instead of asking about the design, I think she will put a hand out onto like one of the walls, like while she's thinking about the etching, while she's thinking about how it's all fit together and working underneath. She'll be asking, so how long have you been accepting Voyager contracts?
Us? Well, the Void Striders have been Voyagers for, well, since before I've been alive. As far as I can tell, Shada is an old man. He's been doing this for longer than most of us have been alive. Me? I've been doing this since I was 5. And he pauses and looks back and realizes only one click. Like, the click is nodding and like, oh, I recognize that. Like, okay. He looks at the two of you and realizes, like, that means nothing to you. 5 is maturity for a click.
Right, okay. Let's say, like, is that like a year, a decade? I don't know.
Terran years, 5 years. For us, maturity. We reach it very swiftly. Click breeze through their lives at a speed well, carbon-based life forms. Weirdly, wow. Everyone here is carbon-based.
So you have a short gestation period?
Very much so, yes. It's one of the reasons why we struggle with colony worlds, with huge population explosions. Of course, the positive side of that is Click tend to age swifter, so very few Click get over age 60. After that, well, good luck.
How do you bury your dead? If you bury them.
Well, it depends. Different cultures. For most of us out in the orbit, we just shoot ourselves into space. It works. Desiccates the body. Any ship that gets hit by it atomizes it on impact. Goes through an atmosphere, lands in a planetary environment, vaporizes, or hits a star. It's a pretty efficient way of handling it. Or they'll just bury us in the soil. I mean, hell, I'm 30 years old, so I'm hitting middle age at this point.
He's a little old man. Oh my god.
He's a little man. He's a grumpy uncle.
I love you, Bill.
He turns around to look at Louis, and he's actually about eye level with you, Louis. Like, you kind of have to knuckle walk, considering yourself. Unless you want to, like, be awkwardly gorilla walking on your hind legs the whole time.
No, I want to be comfy. I've been in a fight. I'm not fucking around with that.
That's fair. So he turns on. He's about eye level with you, considering like his lower body gets to about like 3.5 feet off the ground. With like only a third of his body upright to talk, and he fixes you with like a look. He sort of squints. So, what's your name?
Louis Vuitton. No relation. Great shit, by the way. I love all the corridors you've been pointing out. They're really nice corridors. Some of the best corridors I've seen. And I'm excited about that cafeteria. I know I have eaten in one before, you're not wrong, but that's a different one.
Something tells me you all need some food. Come on, let's head to the commissary.
I do need some food.
You piloted that wreck on the back of that lander, didn't you? That was you, right? Yeah. That's mine. So, can I ask you a very, just professional question? I know it's going to come off a bit rough, but it is.
No, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. Yep, go wild. What do you need?
How long have you been piloting your mech in combat? Because you got the shit kicked out of you.
Okay, right. That's not professional. That's insulting. We're not all middle-aged men around here, all right? I'm quite young.
God.
At least I think that was like my second ever fight. I just lift things, okay? I was used to lifting.
Wait.
And then,
hold up. That was your second combat sortie. How on earth did you survive?
Great question.
Well,
did you see the thing that came at me? It wasn't a Morat, okay? I'm really good against them. You should see me against them.
Alright, I didn't see anything you were up against. I was re-entering the atmosphere in an old clunky ship. So, I didn't see shit, except that when I landed, there was multiple dents in what should be a nearly indestructible landing platform, multiple glowing craters, and a lot of dead bodies. And your mech, in multiple pieces, barely staggering around.
So what you didn't see then was there was 50 other mechs and they all attacked me at once. And I had to single-handedly fight them off. So really, I mean, Becky was great, but those other two, kind of mid. You know, they didn't really do much. It was all me.
Do you have subterfuge by any chance?
Um,
It'll be in your disciplines.
Amaya on the other side of the ship just gets like a little tingle, like something.
I do not have subterfuge. That word. I don't have that.
Make me a base intelligence roll.
Oh, that's okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I got D8. I need a different one. I do not need D8. I need D10.
Yeah. It's not. It could be worse. It could be worse.
Yeah, D10 and D6. Take the highest. Roll the physical dice. A 5.
All right. Let's see. So rolling this, so a 5.
Yep. Oh yes.
So he looks at you and raises an eyebrow. You know, I would normally just chalk that up to bullshit, but considering what I saw, I actually might not be surprised.
Yeah, precisely.
I mean, the braggadociousness of what you're saying is obviously bullshit, but the 50 mech thing I'm starting to believe a little bit. Which makes your survival even more impressive in that hunk of junk you landed in.
Precisely. And that's my second fight. And the first one, we're against some really enthusiastic mole things, okay? Like, they're not pleasant. Yeah. And Becky helped too. Becky, tell him. You were helpful. Becky.
She's not paying attention. While this is going on, she's like leaning into Gallant. Like, you've been quiet. How are you holding up?
Gallant, as you've been walking, has been slowly taking in the environment around him. His purple optics have been sort of like following the lines on the walls. And he looks over at you, and you touch him. It's almost like he's startled a little bit. Just, oh, right, sorry. The digital infrastructure of the ship is just absolutely enthralling.
Can you show me?
I can try. And he holds out his hand, and his wrist link illuminates and creates a little window. And he holds it up, and you can see with one of the synthetic's native abilities through that window, data sight. So lets them perceive digital networks literally. So they don't just see it as like it's a thing on their laptop. For them, it is a visual overlay of everything. And the ship is alive with constant messages. Normally, like, on the planet, you've seen, like, the data traffic that comes to the servers. It's not much. It's like, oh, I need repairs here. Someone's calling the equivalent of, like, an Uber by getting one of the bikes delivered so they can go somewhere a little further away. Like, a little bit of, like, normal data traffic. Nothing too extreme. The odd, funny video on, like, a space, like, some sort of prism data sharing site.
Synapse traffic? Like, literally that fast, that much?
Yes, it is dense as hell. This thing is... The amount of data going on, it's not unlikely that there's possibly multiple AIs working in concert on the ship. So there's, like, probably 2 to 3 from the sheer density of data that's flowing through here. He slowly closes the window. Honestly, this ship is on par with one of my own species.
I'd love to see the engine that powers it.
Would that be possible? As he leans over towards Bill, and Bill just turns around and gives him this incredibly dry look. I'm pretty sure I led this whole conversation with the engine's off limits, but if you keep your hands to yourselves, maybe I'm going to let you see it briefly. From the door, without cameras.
Like a tourist, like, keep your hands to yourself, hands up.
Yeah.
No flashing.
Inside.
No flash photography on this ride.
That said, fine. If it'll get you all to... Actually, maybe get me to do... You know what? If it'll get you off of my back, maybe I can push you off on Geralt. He might be doing nothing about it.
If I may ask, Bill, what is your job on this ship? Because in the loveliest way, your job as a tour guide is surely not your main job.
You're right. I didn't go to piloting school for 15 years in order for me to show people around a starship's generally, obviously similar hallways. No.
I suspected as much.
Yeah, no. I'm a jockey. That's my job.
Woo!
I'm actually
too.
one of the Voyagers. Full name's Bill Croesus. At least that's the name I'm going to give you. You, and he turns to Cogsworth, and he releases a about 13-second long shrill series of clicks, hoots, and various Doppler-like vibrations through his shell, at which point you do hear something that sounds almost like the word Bill within. And then Cogsworth returns the favor with another trill. He turns around, and then Bill turns back to you. So yeah, unless you can replicate that with your, what is that, like 3-foot-long jaw? Good luck.
I have a wrist link. I can just record it.
Oh, it's not worth it.
I'm
Trust
sorry,
me.
do I have a
on that.
3
Bill
foot
works
long jaw?
fine. Say what?
Do I have a 3 foot long jaw?
So, because of the
That's
fact
horrifying.
that yeah, well, your species is derived from something like a panther. So, to a degree, your species
Panthers
used
have
those
3 foot
jaws in
long jaws?
antiquity to lunge after creatures and latch onto
have a
them and
snoot.
twist. Yeah, you basically do. You're a very long head.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
in fairness, you're also a very
Oh,
long
yeah,
boy.
okay.
Damn, you got a big ass head.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
You mean like from my nose to the back of my mouth? I thought you meant downwards.
No!
I don't know why I
Jesus!
thought that. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
no,
don't
you're
know why I just
proportionate.
forgot what I looked like. I thought my head was obscenely tall.
It's
Like
just
what?
your collar.
Ugh. I don't want to open my mouth that wide. Sorry, Andy.
You're good. You're good. So he turns back to you and just sort of. Anyway, I'm the team jockey. My job's to get them in, not a danger. And when they get themselves in over their heads, I drop in with my mech. I rough things up a little bit, have some fun. It's a good way to get some money and some experience, and perhaps the best mech in this part of the sector. So, you know.
Samesies, mate. Samesies. We should be friends. I've only got like 2, but I can. Yeah, 3 friends. I need to write down the name somewhere.
If we're gonna be friends, buddy, and he puts a little paddle on your shoulder, we're gonna need to get that rust bucket of yours fixed up a little bit. Because
I think we should do that even if we're not going to be friends. I really hope that's not contingent on our friendship.
no, thankfully Shadah's been kind enough to agree to get your mech repaired, and I don't think he's the kind who's gonna charge you the bill. So,
Oh, that's nice.
but that said, even if your mech's gonna get fixed up, you need a better one. That thing's a forklift with legs.
You know
If
what?
you're
That
gonna
is
go into a
so
firefight,
nice.
you need something actually made for it.
That is so
We
nice
have
of you to give me
something that
yours
can
as well. I
actually-
really appreciate that.
One at a time, one at a time. Jeez, I can barely keep my attention focused on one of you.
My bad. Come.
It's all right. Louis, what were you saying?
It's really nice of you to give me your Mac. I'm
Okay.
really appreciative of that. You
Oh,
know?
no. Let me stop you
Sorry-
right there.
sorry, Becky,
Human,
you might
what were
actually
you
bump
saying?
some Becky.
Because that's fucking wrong. What were you saying, Human?
We have the means of procuring a superior mech.
Do you?
I think you'd have to take that up with your boss at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose. Something tells me that'll be on you all to handle, but considering what you found, you're probably looking at a pretty good finder's fee. Hopefully it'll be enough to erase any of your debts, maybe get you something better than that hunk of junk in there. But yeah, there's no way in hell you're getting a hold of my mech. And as you guys walk by one of the doors, you can see there's another access into the there's another access way into the main docking bay, which is where you guys are parked. And in it, you can see 3 cradles nearby each other. One has the Galapagos that you guys came up in, and it looks like shit. It's intentionally, it seems, looks like crap. It's like, have you ever seen someone who owns an intentionally old used car, and it's at that age where there's not really much point in polishing it anymore? You just kind of let it get like a little dinged up. That's where it's at. The paint on it is faded and in like this really ugly cherry red. Underneath, you can even see rust on it here and there. Next to it is a much nicer looking mech, actually. It's not even technically an aerospace craft, from what you can tell. It's actually just a mech capable of aerospace work. And that would be what I'm sharing with you there. Louis, you've never actually seen a synthetic construct before, a synthetic Strider. But that is, in fact, a synthetic Strider. The Shade chassis are basically top of the line. It's like saying that I own an F-16 parked in my garage. He's actually rigged his with an extra set of hooks on the back that are designed to actually carry what appears to be some kind of detachable, like, gantryway. So basically, it's enough to allow the rest of his fire team to ride in on the back of it. Literally just sort of gliding in as necessary. Other than that, it's glittering and quite pretty. The surface is polished to a near mirror sheen, and you can still see the stenciled markings on it from synthetic service. So likely he just bought this thing straight off the aftermarket and hasn't touched it since. Next to it, the one closest to you is very obviously his mech. That is undeniably a very unique little gadget. Avatar technology is pretty new to the galaxy, as far as like the 2,000-year history of the Union goes. Avatars are a unique human innovation, a blending of machine and pilot, where in order to pilot it, you use something called the chasm, a machine that literally takes your subconscious mind, uses as an operating system for the machine you're piloting, and turns your conscious mind into the pilot directly. You go to sleep in the mech, you wake up as the mech. There is no cockpit interface. You are the interface.
It's fucking cool.
Yeah. Sitting there is this strange cliquish mech that's very... It almost kind of has like a Cobra-esque sort of structure to it, where it has this long, flexible cord or flexible torso section connected to what appears to be some kind of motor structure at the bottom, almost like a tractor, kind of with these big, heavy steel wheels in a polished, almost brass kind of finish. Very heavy, each plate articulated, designed to move at great speed and actually flex and rotate with terrain. The upper body is a little more than a turret, with a head, with 3 glowing green eyes, and this massively heavy armored body.
Is it active?
Make me a perception roll.
Cool.
So that'd be awareness. Make me awareness. This is what I get for running the second ed Pathfinder just a couple days before I run my own.
I know how that goes, but
Yeah.
That's a 4.
A 4? That's enough. You're not sure how to quantify active for an avatar. Avatars, after a while, stop turning off. You would need to disconnect the reactor at a certain point. But what you can see is that as you're walking by, its eyes follow you. The dim glow within them tracks as you walk by. And there's a of steam out of its what appears to be like a mouth-like grill as you walk by. And
You communicate with him. She'll talk to Bill.
yeah. Bill just sort of turns around and looks at her and then looks at the mech. And you can see its head is actually watching you, like slowly turning as you walk by the door. Communicates strange. That's not quite the right word. It's more like it's kind of a part of me after a while.
Are you happy about that?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Then Pursuit of is absolutely the hallmark of my career. I've been wanting to make that thing for decades before I finally joined here. Well, before I was here long enough to actually make it. You start at the bottom, you build your way up. That right there is 20-odd years of investment and time.
Just you.
Yeah, just me. Granted, as a Voyager crew, you work together, you make the contracts work. At this point, you guys reach the commissary and the doors slide open. You can see inside, there's like only a couple of people. They clearly rotate the lunch shifts, the break shifts, and food shifts fast enough and frequently enough where the chamber's never fully, swollen with personnel. So even though there's enough capacity here to feed probably about, 150 people, there's, maybe 5 people on one side just all jamming together. And as he sort of is walking, he's turned his upper body to face you as he's talking. when you cross the chasm, the avatar sort of replaces your extended nervous system. It becomes you, for all intents and purposes. So, I suppose we do communicate, but it's instinctual. It has an impulse to it.
Does it experience pain?
I experience pain when I'm piloting it, yes. I don't know whether it does, but think of it as like meeting your subconscious. That's the best way to describe it.
I'm not sure I'm ready to do that, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure your bank account is ready to do it either. Avatars are at least over 1 million current to get commission.
I'm going to walk over to the avatar so that it starts following me around the room. And then I'm going to like go left and right to see how quickly it can react. Like,
Its optics follow you quite efficiently. You recognize the effect of a target lock very clearly. The way that it's following you. It is tracking you. And at first you're like, oh, okay, you know. Like, then you notice that like one of its turrets is beginning to follow its head a little bit.
I don't think your avatar likes this.
My avatar is like me. It's cautious. It's a bit abrasive. But it knows how to do its job. That's what matters most.
And you're saying this is your subconscious?
That's really oversimplifying it, but yeah, for layman's terms, more or less.
Does the avatar have something that can be seen as hands?
So, entertainingly, because it's a cliquish avatar, they don't really have arms. Like, they have paddles on their underside. And you can see underneath this thing's upper torso is a series of 4 large, like, grasping manipulators that are sort of all tucked away. It's very much like an industrial, like, manipulator array, like you'd see over at a car factory. They're just all tucked in like turtle arms on the underside.
I'm gonna reach one out and just like this, you know, friend.
Bill just watches you do it, and the machine watches you, and its eyes sort of focus in on you and on your hand and the motion of it, and Bill just kind of chuckles. I'm not sure it's ready for that yet, friend.
Stick with 3 friends. Got it. I'm gonna say 3.5. 3.5 friends.
Don't take it personally, buddy. It's just
your subconscious not wanting to be my friend. It's fine. Fine.
It's weaponized, my friend. It's not here for nicety, if that makes you feel any better. And speaking of niceties, as he turns around, you can see that there's this Shrike who's been walking through the cafeteria, very much not in the uniform like everyone else. You can see this big, hulking, like, warrior.
Just look up his crazy.
He's 10 foot tall, about, give or take, and clad in heavy clothing, very heavy clothing. His pants appear to be made out of multiple layers of almost look like gel packets that are very like softly glowing blue, and the parts of his armor that are not metal and blue cloth, you can see these black, almost like heavy rubbery canvas sort of cloths with glowing wires that emanate heat. Just standing near him, it increases the ambient temperature by like 20 degrees C. And you know, he turns and looks down, and you can barely make out much of his face. Like, he has this headdress that comes very far over what would be his eyeless face. And all you see poking out is this jaw that is bigger than yours, Louis. He's like 3.5 feet long, of this sharpened beak.
Not that it's a competition or anything, but fuck you.
No, it is not. But yeah.
I could be longer. Yeah.
This giant warrior looks down at you. What are you trying to foist on me now, Bill? Oh, nothing much. Just a couple of newbies who need to see around the ship, and they want to see the engine. So I figured the engineer would be the man to talk to. You mean you're tired of them, and you want me to handle the new ones, right? I'm not a tour guide. Yeah, no, neither am I. So, well, it's been real, folks. If you need to meet me, I'll be back in the cargo bay handling, well, yours. And he sort of pats your shoulder, Louis. Now, what's its name, by the way? I assume you've named it, right?
Of course. Yeah, Brock. Brock.
Brock.
Yeah.
Your
Like
name's-
B-Rock.
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 What did you
Okay.
name yours?
Like a 90s band.
Yeah, no, he pauses and he looks up at the through the door out of the cafeteria into the cargo bay. That right there is In Pursuit of.
I mean, that's really cool.
He just sort of shrugs. What can I say? I like good wordplay. And it makes the mech perform better. At least I think it does, anyway.
I feel. I like that.
I never thought of turning it into an acronym. Technically, the full name is supposed to be left unfinished, because, you know, the pursuit of perfection is never done. But anyway, yeah, no, I'll get B-Rock up and running as fast as I can, pal.
Maybe I should change its name. Maybe it does make it work better.
Also,
If I get a new one, I'm going to call it something different from B-Rock. Maybe C-Rock. Brock. No, that's not
Brock?
Brock? No.
You know, I kind of like that. Keep workshopping that, pal, as he's walking towards the door. And he turns around and then he pauses before he goes to the door. One final thing. For you, Louis. Word of advice. From an old jockey to a new one. If you get a new mech, keep the CPU core. Trust me on that. You'll appreciate the familiarity.
Okay, thank you. I'll see you later, good new friend. Yeah, I'm making
Yeah. See you later. And he's like literally doing like
The finger,
the equivalent of finger guns with his paddles as the door closes behind him. And you can see Sheralt just glaring daggers at him. Even though he's eyeless, you can see like just how unfucking okay he is with this shit.
Well, at least he trusts you enough. I think that she'd say that to him. Like seeing the clear, disgruntled.
Yeah, you can see that. You can actually, you don't even see. You feel it in your bones. This sound, like effect, vibrate through you as his sonar sort of pulses out through the room. This it's literally like you feel his disdain for Bill at the moment. He looks down at you. I suppose he does. Come on, you wanted to see the engine. Let's go take a look. He did tell you you're not allowed to take photographs of it, right?
Correct, but he didn't say I couldn't make sketches.
I'll have to see how good an artist you are.
Do I have to make an engineering role? Because I mean, I feel like that's part of it. Like, this is the conductor. Because you have to do measurements.
Yeah, no, I know you're drafting, basically. He's kind of just razzing you, really. You get the idea, like, fine, if you want to sketch, that's okay. Just don't fucking, like, open it up and look at every internal piece. We're going to take a moment and flip from here and sort of flash forward a little bit. Towards the afternoon. Was there anything else?
Yes.
Very quickly, I wanted to ask you guys, was there anything else that immediately that Kushitaka or Amelia would have asked Shada, like, in that meeting? Or would they have taken, like, was that basically the immediate questions they wanted to ask?
We don't have to role play it. Just what do I need to do to hasten the process of becoming a Voyager?
Well, long and short of it, he would have just let you know straight up, you're on the way to the Mantle. When you meet Orin, he's the one who would decide whether or not you are going to be a Voyager or not. The Voyager program is literally an invite-only thing. So you need to know someone, or someone in power has to be able to suggest to you loud enough for someone to actually care, and then deem that you're worthy. Straight up, to become a Voyager, you need to be at the top of your field, or at very least, an exceptional individual. Which initially sounds like you guys are disqualified, but then he reminds you that you all survived multiple attacks from a mercenary company, found an Anazali relic, somehow unlocked it, and have kept it safe thus far. As far as he's concerned, that seems like a reasonable resume for a Voyager crew to start. if not like, honestly.
Yeah, I
some
won't lie. As
Voyagers
soon as you
start
said
less.
like top of your field, I thought, wow, Louis is gonna have a really short chat, isn't he?
Yeah, no. So he's pretty confident that you'll be considered seriously for becoming Voyagers, and from what he says, Oren's pretty sympathetic. But that's all you need to do. You just need to survive for like 3 days on this ship, which is not hard because no one here is going to kill you. And he makes it abundantly clear you are guests and under their protection. This ship is fast and well armed. You will be safe here. And you are going to one of the safest places in the galaxy. You know, as far as being surrounded by mercenaries, but like at least they're all in your field, so this will be helpful. So yes, that's what it's going to take. Just 3 days of hurry up and wait, unfortunately.
Okay, I can do that.
To see how much she can construct.
So what?
Do I make an engineering roll to see how much she can?
No. He wouldn't mind. Honestly, your intrigued mind probably is more curious to him than anything else.
I'm
you were
ready.
saying, JJ?
My apologies. I just wanted to draw. Bond, could you stop covering your lips? Your mouth is further away from the microphone, and I need to lip read you a little bit to hear you. I am very sorry for that.
Okay.
My fault. I'm partly deaf, and because you're so far away from Omni's mic, I can't lip read you.
No,
I
you're
like
good.
how you say you're deaf and yet your character has like amazing hearing abilities.
It's all power
it also
fantasy,
has
right?
the ability to drive a mech, so I'm starting to think like we're not similar.
That's fair.
That's right. I would like to ask. So we're heading to the Mantle, and you mentioned that the Mantle was also constructed by the Anazali with their like the best of the best of their technology at the time.
Yeah, it was literally, to put in perspective, the last time the Union had a stellar forge that is commonly known about, it was used to build the Mantle.
Right, so I'm thinking Amaya's character would probably reason that they have more information there about the stellar forge, and that would be something that, if given time, they could try to investigate some of that. If not the whole crew, then at least Amaya.
Absolutely. And Shadal would also confirm that to you if you bring it up. Yeah. Likewise, he would also let you know that if there's anyone who would know something about what a stellar forge is or anything about how it might work, it actually might be Oren. Oren, at the moment, is one of the oldest living Anazali in the galaxy. Guy's pushing 6,000, 7,000 years. Most Anazali nowadays, lucky if they're 3,000, 4,000. He's so old, he was actually a fleet lord back in the Imperial before it collapsed. So,
can you give me that name one more time? Sorry.
Oren. Selfanor Valen, but Auron. Everyone will recognize Oren pretty quickly.
Okay.
It'd be like, naming the chief of state. Like, he's technically not the leader of the Union or anything, but he is an ambassador and one of import.
Okay.
Also one of the 5 fleet lords who saved the Anazali people. So he's got a hell of a resume. This is his retirement, to put it in perspective. He's like, yeah, leading a bunch of mercenaries? Yeah, it seems like a fun way to spend the rest of eternity. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So we're going to flash forward to a couple of days later, 2 days later. You have made the spacefold transition, which was a very unnoticeable thing. Everyone just said, literally batten down the hatches, hold on to something. There's a soft shock, like gentle turbulence, and all the alarms turn off and everything seems fine. That was about like half a day ago. It is late in the afternoon. What are all of you up to after a day on the ship? What would you guys be doing left to your own devices?
Guns. Kushataka
just jamming out.
I'm literally seeing that Matrix scene with him just saying, I need guns. Lots of guns.
I was trying to not say that earlier.
It's just Kushataka's head, like, literally superimposed over Keanu Reeves.
I was trying not to say that earlier, yeah.
No, that's very fair. You're good, buddy. Yeah, no, that's very fair. They do have an armory. And in fact, you probably would need to go through Chiralt in order to access it. Likewise, also, I imagine you might have run into Sarah at some point this year. But you would spend most of your time with Geralt if you're trying to deal with weapons. So,
Yeah.
let's see.
I felt vastly
next?
underprepared for what we were coming up against last time, so I want to avoid that happening again.
That's very fair. All right, so right now we have Kushitaka going through arms training over the past couple days, or at least like not really arms training, but sort of like figuring out what they have access to, what's possible, and it's a lot.
He's probably
I can
spending
at
time
least-
getting the feel of different like pistols. I think he's focusing on like mid to short range firearms for like close quarters combat scenarios where he's not going to be able to just literally rush up and stab somebody, because
yeah.
otherwise he would just do that. So he's learning more about single handed firearms and practicing a lot with them.
That's very fair. Yeah, no, absolutely. He would have probably, like, Geralt would have, over the past, like, day, especially when you expressed your interest in it. The Big Forge Master is many things, but he is willing to feed curiosity. And so, even though you can't keep them, he flash manufactures a couple of firearms for you to practice with. A submachine gun called the Hailstone, a hand cannon called the Eastwood, and also he, just because he thought you might find it interesting to give it a shot, he also manufactures a shotgun known as the Breaker. All these things are human manufactured weapons, but he thinks that you might find them reliable and rugged. Something to look out for when you get to the market. They're pretty good, all of them. They're really efficient. The Eastwood, literally hand cannon out of Destiny. It is this big gun, basically a revolver with an internal canister that rotates electronically. So it's a little bit different than the mechanical rotation system you're used to, and also can hold, as a result, significantly more ammunition within it. But this one's an old classic 6-shooter with a bullet roughly about the size of a 50 cal.
Nice.
So pretty extreme. The Hailstone being a high-speed, smaller caliber machine gun, but with a nearly uncontrolled, with like an auto, it's auto 3, which means every time you pull the trigger, you will fire 3 bullets. It also has inaccurate, but it's a one-handed weapon, so you can fill corridors with that. And the Breaker, which is the ability to put a slug roughly the size of like a large marble through a fair bit of armor. So he lets you play around with those, and after you're done playing around with them, he literally takes the guns and throws them back into the metallic hoppers that feed the forge, and they just melt away back into the sludge. He's very quick to recycle these things. He doesn't leave them lying around. So that would have been the past like day for you.
Cool.
What would you have been done? What have you been doing, Amaya?
Honestly, I would probably be, besides my daily soaks, which are like, which I love. Okay, so for the audience who is new here, so my species is the Oraname, and so every day I do like what is a soak, which is like basically like taking a bath, and that kind of like helps to kind of like replenish my character. I think what would we consider that, like similar to like a short rest, like a long rest? What
It's literally a component part of your resting.
Yeah.
So like you need to do that at least once a day in order to not start becoming exhausted, as your cell structure depends on that amount of water. Which is also why a lot of Ornami just wear their spacesuits. They just keep them constantly like submerged.
Correct. I think I like the habit of just kind of like soaking in a nice bath, just because it kind of gives me an opportunity to kind of silence the world around me, because I would feel like I would totally submerge myself, like head included, and just kind of block out all noise and just kind of take my time to process like shower thoughts. Like when you're in your shower, you're like, yeah, I've been in here like 15 minutes just thinking about shit. Like I need to get out. Kind of like that. And I think that besides doing that, I think one of the things that they would be doing would be just kind of going around the ship and just kind of getting to know the people who are on the ship, their species, and kind of a little bit of what like the differences are between, kind of like basically doing like investigating of all of these species and their inner workings, and kind of their relations to one another, how they interact with each other. Because I'm
Okay.
trying to understand, like, how do other species socialize within their own species and with other species. Just trying to figure out that.
That's fair. Okay. So I would say that over the course of those couple of days, your character is able to sort of, first off, parse out that this ship, which you actually find out the name of the ship is Silent Running. That is the official title of their ship. It has a union-wide crew. So they have members of every species here. Technically, they only have one Anazali, that'd be Shada, but they do have one member of every species represented here at very least. With the large combination of the crew being made of the core four, as they're called. Humans, Shrike, Click, Acris. Those are the four most common species. They are all extremely professional and relatively pleasant with you. You don't really see much of the struggle that you would often see between different species in a galactic scale. Because as you're spending time on this ship, you do very quickly realize they have built their own community here. This ship has been traveling continuously for, at this point, you find out from one of the I'd say probably from one of actually the commanders of the ship, who are actually contracted below the Voyager team. They are the captains. Technically, Shada is the captain, but they all are operating officers over the actual ship's crew, which they have commissioned. This ship has been flying continuously for about 250 years. It has been redesigned every 20. So they have been doing this for a while. Shada has even, they mentioned, this is not even his first ship. Shada has been a Voyager since, some of them think, the dawn of the Union. Like, they know he's been doing this for over 1,500 years.
Jesus.
It's entirely possible he might have been doing this for 2,000, which is about how old the Union. The Union's like 2,400 or so at this point. So yeah, Shada is like OG, and a lot of the people on the ship frequently mention how like they were kind of surprised when they jumped on that Shada's not more standoffish. He doesn't hold himself like a guy who's been doing this for 2,000 years. You'd think like there's a Wizard of Oz level of like behind the curtain. There's the dude, but no, he's very down to earth. You know, metaphorically, I keep using that term, which is not accurate in space, but you get the idea.
Down to planet.
Okay. Yeah, he's very grounded as an individual, and he commands usually through respect and directly working with the crew. He's not above putting his hands in and getting hard work done, and he asks the same of his Voyager team. The ship, as far as they're concerned, they're just the space station that they use to do things. And they also make it clear that this is not also their only holding. They do have an orbital. They refuse to say where, but they do have an orbital they dock at. That's where they do all their refits and where they built their ship. They literally order parts, they're delivered, they pick them up with their current ship, deliver them to the dry dock at their orbital, and then every 20 years they go back to see what they put together. So that's kind of where you're at with them. It's an interesting thing. It's basically like its own colony. And you're starting to realize every ship in the Union probably has its own little internal community structure like this. It's whole new communities. It's all that it is. People living together in proximity for a long period of time, they make their own culture.
Okay. I think that overall, I think that would still be a lot of good info to get, just because seeing how they can that they are able to get along and how they get along would be intel that would be really important and beneficial for me in my studies.
That's fair. You also, during your time on the ship, you spent probably a fair bit more time near Cogsworth. And Cogsworth has taken a bit of an interest in you, since you mentioned that you are a negotiator. And you find that he is constantly probing you. Not with, like, questions, but, like, verbal jousting. It's not like he's fully toying with you. You get the feeling it's his way of trying to teach you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, he nakedly lies about things all the time around you. And hilariously, he's so good at it, you have a hard time poking holes in his lies. Even when they're fucking obvious. And you get the idea he's sort of showing you like, hey, I know you learned one way of speaking, You learned one doctrine. If you're ever interested in learning another, I might be able to teach you how to wheel and deal around the truth. And so he's been doing that over the past day.
Okay.
It's probably getting annoying by now, but his smug little mandibular grin only grows a little wider every time he messes with your head. It's kind of it's a rather unfortunate truth that he's probably doing the negotiators equivalent of hazing the new guy.
Yeah.
So.
I would be annoyed, but also I'm learning so much, but I hate you. I severely, well, I wouldn't say severely. I'd be like, I kind of dislike you, but I'm also learning a lot, so I can't really be too mad.
I can at least through the past couple of days, if you want to make me a base negotiation roll, I'll let you assess the level of skill that Cogsworth has, which will tell you how far they can train you. So that'd just be your willpower plus whatever your negotiation is, plus your negotiator die, which I believe is a D6 at this level.
Yeah, so negotiation.
Yep.
So will plus 3. Okay, so will is now D8 plus 3.
And then you also roll the D6 for your negotiation die, because you have your field mediators die. So D8, D6 plus whatever negotiation is. There we go.
Yeah, kick Cogsworth's butt.
Okay, so that is a total of 10. Nice.
Nice.
Through that verbal jousting, you're more than able to assess pretty easily how far Cogsworth is trained. So, from his command of axioms, which is the thing that mediators use to weaponize their words, axioms are literally shortcuts in communication. Think of it as the running joke of if you compare someone to Hitler, a conversation ends. Okay, well, what if that weren't a bug, that were a feature? And that's what mediators do. They use axioms to straight up just manipulate social interactions in a way that is not in good faith, in the sense of, oh, I'm engendering conversation. No, they're engendering results, which is how axioms work. The axioms he's using, he is very clearly a journeyman, which is pretty well trained, of the doctrine of, well, hold on, I just need to make sure I've got this right. The doctrine of misdirection.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
You realize as he's walking around, the level of his command is enough where he is able to casually convince crew on this ship that he is not only a member of the crew, but gain him access to secure areas. Which he has done at least twice, you've seen, to use bathrooms. So, he's not doing it to cause havoc, but he's clearly doing it to see how well grilled the crew is. Which, by the way, does eventually earn him a visit from Shada, who basically gives him a stop it kind of moment. It's not even a full-on warning, it's just a stop. And then he just keeps walking and just Cogsworth just shrugs and keeps going on. So
that's
hilarious.
Teach
you a fair bit. Considering right now you're an apprentice, he's a full stage of training above you. So to put in perspective, his mediator die is a D8. And he at least knows 6 to 7 axioms, including a couple of negotiator ones that you're used to, the Doctrine of Accord.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's pretty good at what he's doing.
I feel like at the end of the day, I would be annoyed, but I would channel that annoyance to I need to do better. I need to better myself so that I can be better than him type of
out of spite.
Out of spite, yeah, just I gotta win.
I suspect, and I imagine you suspect as well, that is the point. Speaking of, Kushitaka, do me a favor. Make me a ballistics test, if you would. You know what? Make me 3 separate ones, one at a time. Hilarious. All right. So, I'm going to give you a little reward for your training with Shiral. So, as you're training with him, he's you're not really training. You're more like getting used to these guns, seeing what's capable with them. And he notices you have an affinity for, trying these short to medium range weapons, these sidearm style guns. The shotgun you're surprisingly proficient with, but really he notices that the hand cannon is probably a little more your style. The submachine gun's kind of just all out of the way. So he actually sits you down and gives you a quick tutorial, like towards the end of that second day, of how to customize these things at benches. And he's even willing to give you a part that he makes. And he literally shows you how he makes these things. As he's watching you work on this, in the background you can see that Chiral is, as I mentioned, a 10-foot tall dinosaur with 4 arms, covered in heavy wrappings and armor. And, sort of a strange figure to see. But the whole time when you've been practicing in this training range, he's been nearby, working in this large, almost like cylindrical structure. It almost looks like a piston, kind of. And it's constantly billowing out clouds of condensation as cold air rushes out of it. Then you can see every once in a while he'll grab something and then bang on metal within, and then it'll come down and over again and come back up. And he's actually the entire time cold forging weaponry with a unique Shriekish methodology. They basically use this to break down impurities in metal and literally pull the materials apart by changing the temperatures of different layers and different materials within, which causes them to separate and striate. So he's basically folding metal with temperature. And after he does this for a while, towards the end of like that training session where he throws the last of the guns back into the forge, he opens up a simple program, shows you like a couple of the things you can make. And the one thing he shows you immediately when you're there is he sort of just leans and goes, "You seem to value precision. So I'm going to show you how to make a simple scope. In time, you may learn to do this yourself." And he literally walks you through the process of printing this and gives you a quick primer. And at the end, he takes the design that he showed you, the simple one, he slightly improves on it. And then he tosses it to you. And you realize that what he was working on the forge while you were doing all this testing was this part. He was just showing you how he was making it. So he's going to give you straight up a scope mod that can be applied to any gun you'd like. It is literally just applies the scope keyword, which means that you double the aiming bonus of any weapon it's attached to.
Hog.
So, and that's for free.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So he would not say no worries. He would say, use it carefully and continue to teach yourself. In time, well, you're not a smith like I am. I suspect that human and I probably have more in common, but at the same time, anyone who's interested in this should learn. You should be prepared. There may come a day where you will need to make something yourself. The galaxy's too used to buying their templates. Learn how to build, or at very least, value the skill. It will save your life. I guarantee it. Now get out of my forge.
I give him a fast nod and turn on my heel and walk on out.
All right. What have Louis and Becky been doing this whole time? Whoever wants to go
for Becky. Becky, come.
Becky, help! She is going to deconstruct as much of the ship as she possibly can.
Okay.
Like, if anybody was she would have asked, is there anyone currently in their employ that has been present at one of the redesigns or even at its initial assembly, which I would assume might be under the possibility of Shadowr.
Actually, absolutely. Your questioning would eventually lead you to Sarah of the Endless Sea, the team researcher of the Voyagers. And when you find her, she has her own quarters. Each of them have their own quarters, but their quarters are actually about the size of a small condominium. It's basically like having 3 captain's quarters on this place. There's a sleeping area where you can have your own thing, like a tiny little bedroom. It's almost like a loft sort of thing. And each one of them has an area above where they sort of do whatever they want to do. She's with the bedroom. She sleeps above, and she works below. And below is a massive library of thousands of data cores. In Legacy, technology has gotten to the point where miniaturization is quite potent. It's basically the same, like we're getting towards that edge of what we considered at the moment possible with our current technology. They made a couple of leaps since then, but it's nothing too extreme. But still, the amount of like compressed data in the room at readily access speed, you're probably looking at a couple of yottabytes worth of data. You know, just like the sum total of human knowledge and history several times over in that chamber. And when she meets you, she immediately recognizes your curiosity and gleefully feeds it. She spends a lot of her time just pulling data out for you to see as you'd like. She's even willing to show you elements of the ship's design. Like, she'll literally hand you a blueprint, and as she's handing it to you, her wrist link flashes, and it will automatically redact large portions of the design you're not allowed to see. But she all but confirms for you the ship was actually designed by I believe it would be a child of iron, who was the engineer who actually designed the thing. But she made a couple of modifications of her own. So she's technically the adjunct architect of this vessel, or the adjunct shipwright of this vessel. But very quickly you can like immediately see the ship is just not something you can be able to replicate right now. They are clearly leaning on a lot of personal connections this crew has. However, she does provide you with something rather convenient, which is she takes a look at your rig, which I'm assuming your character still wears on a daily basis, like to do their thing. And she just takes one look at the battery pack that powers it, and just this long raised eyebrow, kind of like, so, if I might ask, what is that on your belt?
Extra charge?
Unacceptable. That's so... No, I refuse to let you leave this room with that. And she would reach down below she has like a similar hololithic table like Shadala has in the meeting room. And she just reaches below and you hear as she pulls out one of the battery packs from it and hands it to you. It's an upgraded reactor core. So basically double charge of what it currently has. She then hands you a little stick, and on it, as she presses it in your hand, that's the license to manufacture it. It'll work twice before you start paying for it. So, enjoy, and good luck.
Stretch redeem, by the way, everyone.
Thank you. My bones. Thank you much.
Thank you, the NV.
Oh, Envy, thank you. Appreciate it, buddy. All right. So yeah, she gives you. I'll give you a more thorough breakdown off of stream of every little detail of the ship if you'd like. But that's pretty much the gist of it. Louis, what are you up to?
So I'm going to spend a fair while walking around the ship and learning where all these corridors go that were mentioned, no matter how relevant or irrelevant they may seem. To the point of, like, I pretty much know exactly where to go. I can give perfect directions to anyone who may or may not be lost.
All right.
I also want to talk to, I believe, Shadar. Also, I'm going to have a slight existential dread about the idea that I've lost my job.
That's fair. You did
we all
literally.
seem to be we all seem to be taking that on the chin, but like I'm on a gap year. Like my father's going to be really pissed. I'm supposed to be on this journey. I was getting this job.
You did kind of like yes man yourself here, didn't you? Like literally, the whole reason you're here is because you kept saying yes to increasingly more intricate like careers, and then that
and now
brought
I'm
you
saying
here
yes
the
to this. I'm like, maybe I should say no at some point. Maybe the next thing I'll say no to. We'll see what that is.
Clearly, Louis needs to be played by Jim Carrey. Is what you're telling me.
Yes. Then I want to have a chat with Shadar because he's saying that we're gonna join the Voyager's crew and we get a finder's fee for everything. I'm gonna ask him like, what is the average earnings of a Voyager over the space of, let's say, 3 months?
He would chuckle at that. You probably would have bumped into him, and I figured the commissary for this, and he would have been sitting at a table eating what appears to be almost like kind of a pine cone. What it looks like, not quite as hard. It's sort of like you ever seen like the pine cone shaped things you can some see at the top of plants where they're very soft and if you squeeze them, just sap comes off?
Yeah.
He's basically eating something that looks very much like that. He just sort of taps it on the top with what appears to be a spoon, and the whole thing just like splits open into layers like an artichoke. Then he's just eating it with syrup. It smells very sweet. And so as you as you ask him, he just sort of chuckles and puts one of the little pieces down. So the funny thing about this career is that it isn't really an earnings over the course of like, how do I describe this? This is a commission-based job, Louis. And he like literally puts his hand on your shoulder, like in that sort of like, let me tell you a tale kind of thing. As a result, the money you make will depend on the commissions you take. The more willing you are to accept danger and risk, the more reward. However, if you're looking for where I was when I was first starting, adjusting for inflation, your average small contract would be several thousand current, at least, just out of the
And
gate.
how often can you do a small contract?
He literally he reaches onto his belt and takes out what looks like a stick, like a black stick, and he unfurls it like a scroll, and it immediately just snaps shut into like this flat, into like this, or snaps open, sort of like those like snap bracelets, but the inverse. And he puts it on the table in front of you, and immediately it begins to light up. And as it does, you can see a constant series of scrolling texts on it. And at the very top, you can see this little tiny, like, what looks like a three-tailed fox icon in green. And next to it, just a constantly scrolling series of text, hundreds of them just ever moving. It's almost like a stock exchange, kind of like watching the ticker. Each of those lines is a job. The question is not going to be, is there a job? The question will be, are you ready for it? Each one of these is at least, like, depending on the smallest ones, this one as an example, identified a Veracity. Is that a seed gun? Figures. They always overflag those. That one is several hundred current. If you're willing to waste an afternoon flying out there, hardly worth it for someone of your caliber. This here, when he double clicks on another one and it opens up, this one's intriguing. Underground complex appears to be Aridness 4. World very sandy, high temperatures, lots of high winds. One side faces the sun, the other side faces away, so extreme temperature differences. And from what the colonists can say, their structure is actually above their cloud layer. Interesting. They're concerned about a metallic structure they found on the surface, and they would like a Voyager team to explore those ruins. The fee for that, if successfully charted and completed, starts at 25,000, split however many ways the fire team wishes, plus whatever holdings they might have. And he rolls it back up. And here's the nice thing, Louis, about being a Voyager. First come, first serve. We are technically an archaeological program. What we find, we catalog and turn over to the Union for them to study. But we do get to keep certain trinkets, as in many cases these things are dangerous anyway and best in hands that are trained to use them. So if I were to tell you how much money you can make, he reaches down and takes the needle that he had and puts it on the table and gestures at like this beautiful, almost Vanta black rod with the glowing green on both ends. That right there is worth about 10 of these ships, if I were to decide upon that. And this ship, 75 million current. So, do the math. He takes the needle and sort of twirls it between his fingers and slaps it onto his waist like a gunslinger. Anything else I can help you with, Louis?
No, you're good. Although on the I am going to ask, I heard the word 25. Did you say 2,500 or 25,000 for the fee of that job?
25,000 for that one.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's gone by the afternoon, but such jobs like that pop up all the time. Hell, some jobs pop back up again because Voyager teams just aren't up to the task and they get killed or they just abandon it. Whatever. You never know.
Does the price increase if more people get killed? I feel like the price should increase if more people get killed.
A good employer will increase the price. The bounty gets ever higher, usually. But sometimes, just know when to cut your sales and go. You know, cut your losses. Just leave.
Yeah, just not die.
You have a whole galaxy's worth of prospects.
Precisely. Not dying, top of the list. Okay, no, that's it. That's good. Thank you. Math, right. And then he walks off. He does it all in his head. 25,000 plus 20% for finest 3. That's 30,000. Okay, 30,000.
After doing the math, that's more money than you've made in your entire life about twice over.
Yeah, so some pennies. Okay, divided by 4, because I'm guessing yeah. Divided by 4, that's 7,500. That's pretty good. Bill said that thing cost $1 million. Let's see, 1 million. 1, 2,
It'll take a while. I will also say, out of character, above table, if you ask him further, and also Bill, he would also indicate there's another nice side of working as a Voyager. Simply put, you work for colony worlds, factions, different groups. Over time, you build reputation. Eventually, you might not even need to pay for your equipment. They might gift it to you. It's like being an influencer on YouTube. Eventually, people start sending you shit because they want your name associated with it. Same kind of thing. As an example, Shaddaa mentions that the engines on the ship were free. They were experimental. So they saved like several million current on installation by just agreeing to test these engines. So
whenever Louis hears the words experimental, all he hears is dangerous. Okay, so 133 jobs of that mission style, 133 afternoons. That's do days, weeks, and months work the same here?
So that is the thing I'm going to let you know. Whenever I say the word days, or weeks, or months, or a time of year, I'm referring to Terran years. And here's the reason why. I'm translating for the audience. In Legacy,
that makes sense.
Everyone out there, if you're in the world of Legacy, you speak every one of these languages. As you sleep, you are trained subconsciously to speak any language that is local, and your mind will basically know the understandings beneath it and translate that language to whatever is relevant to you. So there's all these different species are speaking in hoots and clicks and subsonic roars and a million other things that you can't do. Synthetics speak in a version of binary. I don't care. You hear English. That's literally how it works. Space opera. Gotta hand wave some shit.
So Louis basically works out if you get one of those really cool things in about 4 months. Completely unrealistic, because that does mean a mission a day. But he doesn't care. He's said 4 months, and that's his final decision. He is also going to go bother Bill, and bother is probably the most accurate word, because he wants to learn something from Bill, and he believes he's best friend with Bill now, so that's good. He also, finally, if I may, wants to be there when they're rebuilding his mech. Posture check. Yeah, posture's terrible.
Thanks, buddy.
That is very fair. Thank you for that adjustment. Okay. Well, when they rebuild your mech, first off, as Bill has been working on getting this thing situated back for you, you can see like he's actually the guy who's largely in charge of the garage down here, of the actual like hangar bay. While Sheralt might be the Voyager's crew's engineer, field engineer, Bill oversees a lot of the maintenance of the craft and vessels he pilots. And as he makes it abundantly clear over the course of that day, there's very few things on this ship he has not piloted, including the whole damn ship. So he is very persnickety about how things operate. And so he has by the time that you caught up with him and you watch as he's rebuilding, he removes the CPU core from your mech, but the only thing that still works, and hands it to you. And the CPU core is like the size of, I'd say like a medium-sized, like suitcase-sized canister of metal with a single roving optic in the middle. Like it's got a little like turret on it, and inside it's got this camera that sort of looks around like an eyeball. And that's how it sort of interprets what's inside of the cockpit. It's literally studying your facial expressions, seeing all the other scopes and things like that. It's plugged in, but it also gives the mech its own like ability to learn and increase its efficiency with you over time. So he's given you this thing that's basically the brain of Brock. And then the rest of it, after like the first half of that second day, Brock is under tarps, and you only see people in like hazmat suits going to it. As he mentions that you didn't say that you had splatted something horrifying on your windshield, and that is something that Shada is very careful and wants quarantined until it's taken care of. And eventually, he gives you the good news. Good news, they were able to recover your mech schematic from its CPU core. Bad news, the rest of the mech's gotta go. And they literally throw the whole thing into a hopper and melt it down. And then Flash remanufacture it using an industrial matter printer on the ship. So, same matter, new mech, basically. It's like melting down a car to cast a new one, basically.
C-Rock, you're back!
And he just sort of gestures for you to like plug the CPU core into it to finish the job. He directs you on how to do that. Your mech right now is pristine silver, but as soon as you plug the CPU core back in, your Brock remembers its pre-programmed settings, and the external plating begins to change its color back to its original designated green.
Right.
Because most of the surfaces in ships and that sort of thing are actually programmable matter, so they can just change their coloration by choice.
In which case, then, can I add some aesthetic changes to it?
Yeah, no, it's like think of your mech skin like the surface of a PC monitor. You can choose whatever wallpaper you want.
I just want it to have go faster stripes.
What color do you want those go faster stripes, Paul?
They have to be flames. They have to be flames, otherwise it won't go faster, Omni.
Okay,
Everyone
so
knows
flames.
this.
All right,
Painted
so
red, it
orange,
goes faster.
orange, red, and yellow. I'm gonna have fun redesigning your mech.
My apologies for making you do that.
No, I'm gonna love this. Also, you know, by the end of the day, you might not even be in Sea Rock in the traditional sense. It might be drawing a whole new mech with flaming stripes on it. So I'll remember that. So we're gonna sort of flash forward a little bit to the end of the second and a half day or so. I'm going to assume that you all would have, for the record, a common area assigned to you. This ship has multiple guest quarters, and they just literally take the walls down on it. So in this section, you would have enough for each of you to have a little bit of space and do a thing, but a common area to eat and be away from the rest of the crew, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Eventually, you guys would hear a boop on the door, and it would be Shada on the other end. May I come in?
Yeah, sure.
Well, just like, is there a switch where it can just be like, yep?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
You can literally, by just saying the words "come in," the ship can identify that as like a door, unlocking. Basically, you can program whatever you want to open the door. It's very Star Trek in that way. I actually found that was a fun thing. Fun fact: the doors on Star Trek lock. People just walk into shit. It's just when they say "come in," that's them unlocking the door. So the door unlocks, and you see Shada standing there, and as he's standing there currently with his helmet under his arm, looking across the room at all of you, we are within sight of the Mantle. If anyone wishes to see it, now would be the time. Now that we're close enough, we'll be taking a lander down to the surface. We'll be meeting with Orin by the end of the afternoon. Well, I guess it'd be... What's the ship's clock? And he looks at his wrist, and you can see, like, the van brace sort of glows for a second. Oh, right. It's evening. I'm sorry. If you want to rest for the evening, you can. It's afternoon on the Mantle where we're going. I hope that's okay with everyone. And he just sort of looks around at all of you to see.
Yeah, we should probably get it taken care of as soon as possible.
It's just occurred to me how bad jet lag would be in space travel.
I'm like,
Yeah, usually like the delay between going from point A to point B. If there's any delay in that 3-day travel time, it's usually because they're slowing down their arrival so that the time they get there is roughly equivalent to the time they left. But on big space liners that carry multiple ships within their orbital envelope, which literally lets them space fold safely, even on a ship that doesn't have a drive, they carry like 20 or 30 ships. Yeah, no, jet lag can get fucked really quick. There's there's a reason why some people prefer to be put into cryo, even during small trips. Sure, it's a rather unpleasant process, and almost universally you throw up after you get out of it. But in exchange, no jet lag, so that's good. So, as he sort of looks around the room at you, I have a personal request. Who among you has this forge? Because last I spoke with Amaya and Kushitaka, you two eluded who might have it. But I'm going to be honest. That's an Anazali relic. None of you idiots should have been able to open it.
Idiots.
I'm gonna be
I'm-
looking at him like, I know you fucking lying.
He holds his hands up. I'm being facetious. I'm sorry. Are we not at the point where camaraderie can be a little bit tongue-in-cheek? Never mind.
Yes, we are, you moron. You're right.
That's what I'm talking about. He
Yeah,
literally just
jerk
does that.
face.
Okay, now you're just getting personal. My point still stands. Who has the damn thing?
Becky's hand will like reach up towards her pocket and like close around it.
Let me make a roll for that. You're not announcing that?
No.
Okay.
But you should be able to infer. It's not like she's hiding it. It's just
Okay,
more
you're
of
not
like
trying to hide it?
No,
All right.
it's more of like a reflex, like protect.
Okay.
Like you can see us.
That's fair.
I'm just
He
gonna.
holds it.
Hey, I'm pointing back at her.
Everyone's just pointing over
Wow.
him. He just holds a hand up. I don't want to take it. Relax. There's a thing that I figure I'll let you know. If you're going to be Voyagers, that's your decision, by the way. It doesn't have to be that way, but if you want, I recommend it. That's yours. That's your first find. And I'm going to tell you very bluntly that you're going to need more than a pocket to protect it. Good news. Or it might be willing to set you up with something. I advise you take him up on it. More important than that, though. We are going onto the Mantle, an Anazali and Acre structure, primarily Anazali designed, made by a stellar forge that is now incorporated into its design to power it. Hence why we no longer possess a stellar forge, but what you have in your hand there. And he reaches onto his belt and he takes out this little black orb, and it expands almost like a Pokeball. And there's a little circle on it, and he hands it over to you, Becky. I would highly advise you place that in the black box.
Will it hurt?
It will not hurt. It will, however, insulate it from the systems of the Mantle.
Yeah, probably a good idea. So she'll acquiesce.
Furthermore, as I recall when I met you, I asked whether you had told it about what year it was, anything. I don't believe you have you?
Not quite.
Don't talk with it when it is on the Mantle. Don't engage with it in the Mantle. Leave it in that sphere. And do not communicate with it on my ship about that topic. If you're going to do that, you're going to need a black box room. Or that thing, that AI is probably twice as old as I am. And the last time it was around, my people ruled the galaxy. It is a different galaxy now. And that machine is sapient enough to suffer shock and trauma. And like a person who suffers shock and trauma, it can lash out. That thing purified a world, and all it took was the bargain basement benefit of a small air pressure shockwave. Last I checked, only a couple of injuries on the planet, but everyone was safe otherwise. Just so you know, Barreldine's doing good. That was when it was being cooperative. Depending on how big its galactic hopper might be, that thing could produce matter equivalent to small planetoids at will. So do me a favor, don't piss it off on my ship. or in the capital of the Union. It's your decision how you handle it. But I would recommend you consider living in truth at some point.
That was the intention.
Thank you. Also, what can I say? There's not too many Anazali survivors of that era. There's a kinship, I feel. I feel it deserves the truth at some point. Your decision, though. Prepare yourselves. Look nice. Wash up. Have some stimulant or something so you at least feel awake. You'll want this. Orin doesn't often make time, but we're old friends, so it's the least I can do for you all. Oh, one final thing. And as he says this as he's walking out the door, and he looks over at you, Kushitaka. Don't try to hack anything. Just my recommendation.
Wasn't planning on it.
Didn't think you were, but I know. You're the curious type. Not a bad thing. Just, well, Orin's not the armchair kind of person. You'll see what I mean. The door closes and locks behind him. So, you all get on your wrist links alerts from each of you that the following things are allowed on the mantle. Personal sidearms that are registered, which all of yours would be if you agree to take them on you. And personal armor systems, no bigger than, like, basically traditional, like, armor. So hard suits off the table, mechs off the table. Rigs also off the table. Hacking modules off the table. The place where you're going is a very specific section of the mantle. This place is known as the Voyager's Nest. The Voyager's Nest is run by mercenaries and occupies mercenaries. It is literally the place where Voyagers in the galaxy meet. This is what they do to avoid armed conflict there, because rivalry is a big deal among these people sometimes. And they'd rather make sure that if anyone gets killed, the worst thing it'll be is a knife fight or a pistol fight. And no one walking around with, artillery or starship weapons or ancient arcane tools of unknown destruction. There is one exception. You were allowed to bring the Stellar Forge. And in fact, from what you can see on the request, Orin insists upon it.
I mean, we could totally take over this place, guys. It's just a flashing thought. Oh, it's fine. Also, congratulations, Kushitaka. Well done. You finally greenlit a planet that didn't immediately die and kill everyone. Congratulations. Woohoo. First one ever.
Feels nice. We did it. We made it.
Career
What,
achievement.
you know the old saying? 58th time the charm? No?
Something like that. Yeah. I need more guns. We're
More
going to be
guns.
dealing with a lot of shit.
That's true.
Gallant is sitting in the room with you guys, and Cogsworth can't really sit, but is currently standing in their meal pan, which is literally just like a metal pan on the ground with soil in it, and they're just kind of standing in it as they absorb the nutrients. And Cogsworth sort of looks over. So, I figure I'll just ask it straight up. Obviously, I'm not going down there. I have no interest in meeting that guy, personally. That's just a me thing. You all go ahead. I'd rather be in the marketplace seeing what I can scrounge up. And I'm sure Gallant has something better to do than go down there. Which Gallant gives Cogsworth a look and just, excuse me, I happen to be very interested in the mantle, thank you very much. I'd very much like to go, if that's okay with everyone.
Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, more merrier. Let's go.
All right. I'll leave my rig behind, of course, but just because not all of us are curious doesn't mean that you have to assume that we're all the same as you. Cogsworth just sort of shrugs. Look, I just know not to stick my nose where it shouldn't belong. Simple as that. And the Union, let's just say I am used to acquiring goods through various means, and I don't feel like dealing with their trade federation. Thank you very much.
My dad's would love.
Ooh, we'll have to talk about that later. And Gallant sort of walks over to you, Kushitaka, and sits down next to you. Are you doing all right?
I really feel like I'm the only person here who seems to be concerned about the people that are going to be coming after us.
We seem to have Voyagers on our side. I'm not too worried.
I'm pretty worried myself, actually, but
Voyagers are well and good, but they operate independently as small cells or, sects of like-minded individuals. Sometimes they even operate alone. We have the weight of an entire world coming against us. At least one.
We do have the racist AI. It seems like it can sort of just take out fucking anything.
No one is going to touch or open.
Here's what I'm most worried about. What if the racist AI likes the guys that want it more than it turns out to like us?
We can't allow exposure until we've established a connection.
I'm really good at making friends. I made like 3.5. I reckon I can give it a shot.
I'm pretty sure Gallant, as like Louis says this, is like looking at Louis with like half-lidded eyes, with like, aha.
You know, the thing is, I actually don't remember who the second friend was. I know Becky was one of them. I can't remember the other.
I think that was Calcifer, actually.
That was it. Yeah, Calcifer.
your AI.
Yeah.
Our favorite little AI buddy.
Yeah.
Amaya would look at Kushitaka and say, it's not so much that I'm not worried. I am. But there are so many unknowns that it's hard to really pinpoint what to really do. I think, at least in the really long term, I think that while we do have these people coming after us, we can only really take what they throw at us one at a time. I mean, there's not really very much I see that we can do as we are right now. So it's not so much that there's a lack of worry, it's just that there's a lack of preparedness because we don't know exactly what it is that we're up against. So it makes it hard to try to plan something besides what we're already doing, which is pretty much just moving around.
Okay, I'm actually siding with Kushitaka now because that whole series of sentences is really worrying. We don't have a plan.
We don't have a plan.
We don't have a plan because there's so many unknown factors that making a plan is somewhat difficult until we get more information.
And resources. We can't really make a plan without resources.
That as
Hopefully,
well.
this Orin character will help us out.
Also, they're not going to attack us while we're here. That would be really stupid of them. There's at least a dozen people in there. At least. I'd say at least 1,000, maybe. Maybe.
Are you gesturing out the window?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's people out there.
Yeah.
Out the door, like just outside this room, there's at least a dozen to 1,000 people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they're not going to attack us here. This ship is pretty dope.
I'm not worried about them attacking us here.
Right.
I'm worried about the long term.
Well,
you can see that Cogsworth sort of crawls out of the pan and just like presses a button on the wall, and the wall seemingly becomes transparent as the external ship sensors pipe in the data of what's being observed outside and uses it to create a basically seamless opening in the wall for you. It's not a real opening, it's just the wall's like a perfect window now. And outside, you see that sprawling into what appears to be like the distance. As you can see what he meant by the mantle is close. Looming ahead of you, this thing that at a distance it just looked like a little silver ring, but now that you've gotten closer, much closer, it is as large as a planet. It has an insane amount of orbital traffic, And as you're getting closer, you're realizing that each of those little lights on its surface is the size of a major city on any planet. It
See?
is
At least
vast.
a dozen people.
I think we can get resources here.
I think
I
that
worry we can get enemies here too.
that's true.
One thing at a time.
Right. I think that I agree with Becky. I think that we can only really move forward one step at a time at this point. It's while we can think about the long term, it's kind of hard to do that when, like I said, we still don't know all these things that can contribute to that. So
Yeah,
I
we're
think
gonna need
we should
money
tread
and
lightly.
resources. Yeah, money, resources, allies, and then we can't really do anything about, like you said, we can't do anything about people chasing us until we have those three things. So I think go in there, make enough money to earn me a really cool suit, and then we'll make a plan.
Okay.
I'll look at Kushitaka and be like, I'll be like, your worry is valid. It's just that there's not much we can do about that as of right now.
How about this, right?
I want to make sure that his feelings aren't hurt.
No, my feelings aren't hurt at all. No,
I'm
I'm
just like,
just.
don't be mad. You're
you
a
know.
good bean.
Kushitaka,
things are
you
shit.
are in charge of coming up with a plan. I gotta be in charge of making friends. Amaya,
Maya.
I got that right. Amaya, you're in charge of making sure that we don't make enemies, right?
Okay.
And Becky, you're in charge of learning as much about technology around here as possible so we can get cool stuff.
I'm gonna look at
would-
Cogsworth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, relinquish that to Cogsworth.
I'm just gonna
Cogsworth.
look at Cogsworth like, who made him the planner?
Cogsworth just sort of shrugs. Sounds like a decent plan to me. A little
I mean,
backwards ass with the
He's
people,
not
but
even
a good
coming on
idea.
here. He's not
I
coming.
am
He's not part of the
surprised. I
crew.
surprisingly agree with you.
So
See, I'm not just a really sexy 3-inch jaw man. You know, I can come on. I'm more than
So-
just these 3 inches.
we're going to slowly close the scene on Kushitaka and the rest of the crew looking out the window at this vast superstructure. Does anyone need to go to the bathroom before we finish off the stream? Because we're getting very close to the end.
Yes.
Oh, no, if it's finishing off the stream, we can wait. But
We're like 15 minutes, 15 to 18 minutes, so if you got to do your thing.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
that's
I
fine,
can hold it. I can hold it.
Okay, are you good with that, Derek?
Yeah, I'm
Start
fine.
fidgeting.
Okay, cool. So,
You're so cute. You're just the cutest person ever.
oh, super sweet.
I love you.
Hmm.
So, let's see. Over the, where is this? Ah, there we go. Aha! That's what I was looking for. Over the next several hours, the crew starts getting themselves ready to dock at the Mantle. However, you folks aren't going to be there for the whole time. Eventually, Bill stops by and lets you all know that it's time. He's gotten the same lander that you guys used to get off planet ready to go and land themselves. And you're all going to be going with him. This time, no mech, just the lander and you all. The next hour of approach is done in vacuum suit, hanging on to the top of this craft outside the pressurized environment with only the soft shuddering of its engines below you and your own breathing audible within your helmets.
I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this.
As you get closer to the Mantle, you feel a soft whoosh, and then eventually the full pressure wave of entering an atmosphere. The ship has to actually angle itself downwards, so the thrust from its boosters deflects some of the heat rising up at you for re-entry. But eventually, you come to this interior of the structure, where you go through the bottom through one of those large, sort of like triangular-looking openings that's at the bottom. Those are massive spaceport, literally like almost like an inverse pit built into the thing with a near zero gravity environment. But about halfway down, you start hitting atmosphere. And eventually, after like several hours of travel at supersonic speed, you come onto the outside of the ring, or I should say the interior of the structure, facing the sun. And besides the fact that the horizon stretches up in a giant ring on both sides away from you and up around the distant orange star, you could be mistaken for this being a paradise world. Rolling green hills, a soft breeze, trees, birds, air traffic, cities literally built like on the surface of a world, with distance, travel time between them, even air traffic on this place, and monorails to connect different locations. Eventually, as you fly across a number of small, almost like inner structure oceans, several million gallons of water at least, several, probably trillions of gallons of water combined, you eventually see a lone silver tower in the middle of one of these oceans, surrounded by a small island of green, and many, many ships buzzing about it like bees in a hive. This tower is probably about 1 kilometer tall, and you fly upwards to the topmost section, which sort of comes out like a mushroom, sort of, with only one small spear sticking out of the top. And that mushroom has many tiers, and each one, as you get closer, is a landing bay. The ship eventually lands, and you can see as it's being led in automatically, it sort of just finds one of its cradles and settles down. And Bill, sitting in the cockpit, you finally hear over the comm, "All right, that's as far as I go. It's you and Shadana now. Good luck, folks. And if you need anything, your car rides here."
Hi,
He
Bill.
just gives a bang on the inside of the cockpit for you all. And Shada leads the way onto a gantry that has these little tiny, like, rotating cars come by every once in a while. It's like almost kind of a, it's like a monorail almost, like like the People Mover at Disney. It's this really small cart, open air. And it whisks you along at several hundred miles an hour up the spine of this thing, until finally it transitions vertically into like a lift, which lets off a rather pretty interior room. Everything is very smooth and soft, shades of gray, shades of occasionally like almost alabaster white, and the floors are polished wood. You can't really even see where it's joined together. Whoever made this has actually joined the wood together where the grains match. The only sign that it's not a solid piece of wood is that carved into that wood is what appears to be channels of water, small fish of various varieties floating through it, plants within it, literally like a river under the floor. Solid, you can stand on it. Beneath, whether that be energy or some form of acrylic, is where the water is. And a single doorway, a large arch made for any species to walk through. You can tell because it's like almost 15 feet tall. It opens, and within, staring out over this beautiful view, in a relatively cool, colored room with some very nice looking furniture, is Orin. This relatively unassuming looking Anazali, in a gray spacesuit with purple accents. The only thing that really denotes him as being at all strange or special would be the hard light, almost like pauldrons that hover off his shoulders, translucent. Literally, you can just see right through them. And the gossamer, almost cloth that just blows in the breeze as he has the window open. He slowly turns around. "Ah, welcome! It's a pleasure to see you all. I am Orin Selfinor Valen, First Fleet Lord of 5, and Director of the Voyager program. By all means, come in. Shadar, can I have a moment with him alone?" And Shadar sort of like looks between you guys and Orin. And it's like a little bit like there's like a slight reassuring like smile that he gives each of you. "Of course. I'll be outside, my friend." The door closes. "So then, does anyone need tea? Food? Can have whatever you'd like. I personally, I've just finished my own meal, so you'll not mind if I don't join you, but at very least take a seat. You must be tired, all of you.
She'll take. Becky will take a black coffee. I'm assuming the synthesizer is like right off the side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a pretty bog standard synthesizer. It's weird. It's like being in like one of those $1 million style apartments, and there's just like an actual like microwave there, like a Walmart black microwave. It prints you out of coffee pretty quickly.
Can I take whatever this world's equivalent of a Red Bull is, please?
A what? A Red Bull?
Bull.
Red Bull's still sold in the future.
Oh, good. I was worried.
Yeah. If you want Red Bull, you can get Red Bull. This is our world. I can guarantee you one of the few things that survives, unfortunately, is brands across time and space. So, yeah,
Capitalism
no.
endures,
Also,
unfortunately.
yeah, until if I ever get the chance to make this into something that's more widely consumable, and, then if that's the case, then it will become not Pepsi, but Bepsi. And
Yeah.
Blue Bull, all that fun stuff. So,
Rebel.
yeah, Rebel. It's Rebel.
Rebel.
Oh, I like that.
I do like that. That's a pretty good one. But yes, no, it prints out a pretty recognizable can of Red Bull, aluminum and all.
Sweet.
So you can drink as you'd like. He's just literally sitting in this very comfy looking armchair. It's mostly cushioned, wire holding it up, just sitting over like an old man on the porch, just letting the breeze blow by, watching as you all get your food, for those of you who do. He's just watching, seeing you all do your thing. He's not going to interrupt. He's just waiting for someone else to make the first move.
Do you have questions?
This is probably a silly thing to say, but our friend, your friend, old friend back there, said you're not an armchair kind of guy, and yet you're sitting in an armchair. Probably not the most prioritizing a question. I just don't like being lied to.
I see what you mean. Shada and I go back to the fleet, back to the collapse. He was young back then. He remembers me as Oren the Fleet Lord, not Oren the Ambassador. That said, I will admit, while I do enjoy a comfortable seat on a beautiful day like this, I'll be the first person to tell you that I deal with Voyagers. And that means that I need to be prepared. You don't work with some of the best equipped and most dangerous people in the galaxy without some precautions. So I believe what Shada was referring to was this. And I'm just going to very quickly make a very swift roll. Let's see. I would like for this to work. Here we go. Hello, Dice Roller.
Hello.
Oh no.
27 to hit. So from where he's sitting, without missing a beat, he holds out one of his hands, just like in a gentle, like, extending gesture, and as he does, this almost invisible wire, barely like, almost like a monofilament, sort of lashes out, and around the top of your Red Bull, and just in a whoosh, the top of your Red Bull just slides off, and he back into his hand. I am, and always will be, a warrior. Unfortunately, circumstance made me that.
I can see why you're friends. She's referring to Shada and him.
Yeah. Shada grew up in the fleet during the worst of our history. He saw who I was when I was not who I wanted to be. I'm much happier being who I am now. Warfare is a necessity. I am unfortunately 6,000 years practiced. It does not mean I enjoy it, but I have been told I'm pretty good at it.
What's your favorite
Okay,
food?
but what did my Red Bull do?
Your Red Bull?
I just took the top off. Just drink from it. It's a cup now.
Gotta cut my
And-
lip.
You asked about my favorite food? Nawin cones. One of the few things we could salvage from our homeworld when we left. One of the few things that we can still produce. We can make it pretty good, too. But that's not why I've called you here. I imagine you have more pressing questions to ask, so ask them.
Are you our employer?
That depends on how this conversation goes. And in the strictest sense, I wouldn't be your employer even if you do qualify for the Voyager program. You would be self-employed. My job is not to hire you. My job is to handle you, unfortunately. The connotation there is an unpleasant one, I know. But when you're dealing with people who save and salvage the most dangerous things in this galaxy, I won't pretend as though if my job isn't to occasionally remind people that they serve the galaxy at its leisure, not the other way around. But I like taking a hands-off approach. You seem decent people, and very clearly, you came here having agreed to my terms. I see no advanced tactical weaponry or rigs here. I appreciate that. You have my respect for what you've gone through, and my respect for abiding by what must have been a very uncomfortable request given the past few days for you. So, you've earned my time and attention. It's not every day even a Voyager comes in with something like you have, Ms. Booker.
As someone who's only ever known her as Becky, I'm going to be looking around for who Miss Booker is.
Amaya's gonna see your confusion just to Becky. Like, girl,
Booker? Oh.
that's why it's BB.
I just thought she liked shooting pellet guns.
No. It's because it's Booker. And then I'm gonna take his Red Bull and just like make it into like a kind of like fold over the edges so that he doesn't cut his freaking mouth like he is a little child. Here's your costume, here's your cup.
That was so unreasonable of him, wasn't it? Honestly.
I mean, it caught you off guard. I understand.
It did.
It was a
Said
flex.
she was about us.
Yeah,
It was a flex. People do it all the time.
Yes, Becky does it with technology. It's fine. We all have it. It's fine.
When have I ever flexed on anyone?
Listen,
Oren's literally watching this conversation with this very small, bemused smile on his face.
Kushitaka is silently sitting there without eating or drinking anything, just like
yeah, I was not gonna eat anything.
letting this play out.
I was not gonna eat anything in this room. I'm gonna be observing this being because while I sense that we are in no immediate danger, I also recognize that this is a very wise and powerful being, and they could be dangerous, like if they wanted to. Like
I'm
if they
gonna
really
say,
wanted
make
to.
me just an intellect roll, and I'm gonna also take a look and see, like, you have a couple backgrounds that might be relevant to you here. Just looking through your character sheet very quickly, your character has certain expertise in gathering information, as I recall. So, looking at this, actually, for you to be a research role. I'll let you add public investigation and political affairs to this, for sure.
Okay.
Both of them apply. So you'd get a further +2 on top of the +1 from research, plus whatever your intellect mod is. Your intellect roll is.
So research is intellect.
So this would be intellect +3.
10 plus 3, yeah. Okay.
Yep, D10 +3, and then don't forget your D6. Choose whichever one you want higher. Okay.
Over D10 plus 3. And then 6.
Okay. All right. So a 10.
Hey.
Oren Selfanor Valen. That right there, that's a name you don't really even need a degree to know. But having had your degree, you are actually one of the few people here, besides... It's weird. This group is like a surprising divergence in like educational background. Half of you are very much blue collar, straight out of school, like working in the field group. The other half of you have gone through various levels of training. I don't know how far Kushataka's collegiate studies have gone, but I'm sure you had at least a little bit.
Went to the school of hard knocks, son.
Okay, so
Learn from Peg
even
Leg
further
Pete.
divergence: 3 blue collars and 1 college girl, and that'd be Maya. So you remember when you were in school, like really young, but as you got older, this topic would come up occasionally too. The Union, its founding, and all of that. There are many who credit Oren Salvalin as the singular founder of the Union. That is, by his own admission, frequently not accurate. However, by a lot of historians, they still think it's more accurate than to say that the Anazali and the Akris made peace. It was not all the Anazali. It was one fleet. And it was Oren's fleet that found the Akris. He was the instigator of the Akris' uprising and uplifting, and their long-term survival. It was also he that led one of only 5 remnant fleets that contained what was left of Anazali civilization. The man you're seeing before you has survived a genocide and prevented a second, and then founded a civilization. He is one of the founding fathers of the Union. He is a known factor. He has spent many years exercising political will, and only since the formation of the Union has he really stepped down. He has left the Union Council behind, and his fleet lordship. Technically, he is no longer an Anazali fleet lord. Think of a fleet lord as a warlord. They literally are also called fleet princes when they're in training. They literally were authoritarian leaders back in the Imperial. Oren inherited his post when his father died during the apocalypse. He has been leading his people ever since. This man has been moving pieces across the galaxy for several thousand years. Good news, so far, he seems to be on the level. Bad news, he's playing a game of 4-dimensional chess and you all aren't even pawns. Yet. That said also, and this is the final little detail I'll give you because given his notoriety and your role, you at least get this much. Oren views the Voyagers as his real legacy. More than the galaxy. He said the thing. More than the title card. More than roll credits. More than the Union. More than the Akris. More than even his own people's survival. Oren views the Voyager program as his greatest achievement. He very much protects it. He's very careful with it. There are many Voyagers who are very much folk heroes across the galaxy to a lot of different people. Think of them as like G.I. Joe style characters. Everyone knows their names. There's action figures literally of certain Voyager crews in different sectors of the galaxy. They very frequently refer to Oren as a near father figure. This guy's willing to go to ground for his Voyagers. He's done a lot of terrible things to save a lot of people. I feel like that says everything I need to about his character, good or bad. So this is a man who's used to making those decisions. And he has decided to clear an afternoon to talk with you all.
Because that's no pressure.
I am so honored right now. As I'm observing him and kind of thinking all of this through my head about his history and who he is, I would then ask him, just kind of get to the meat of it, because I don't want to waste this time. Just be like, what is it exactly that you want us to do with the Stellar Forge?
That's a good question, isn't it?
Assuming it's cooperative.
Yes. That is fair, isn't it? All right. Well, I'm going to ask each of you, point blank, given arguably one of the most powerful relics of my people. A thing which I have not seen for several thousand years intact. A thing which my people, in their past, used to commit truly horrific atrocities. Multiple genocides. Many wars. And save many species. What would you do if I gave you the key to the galaxy? What would you do with it? I don't want you all to answer as a group. I need to hear it from each of you. Louis, if I gave you a tool right now as powerful as the Stellar Forge, what would you do with it? And his pale purple eyes lock onto you.
Are you gonna say Red Bull? Because I am gonna.
I was so you know what? I was thinking that I was like, I'd fix my fucking Red Bull can, to be honest. But no, Louis for the first time does look directly into the eye, into his eyes, and says, "I'd terraform every planet so it was livable. I'd provide resources so that the temptation of war never need to happen again. I'd make sure that anybody or anything or any species going without never had to again. I'd make sure that my people on my island were never seen as lesser beings. I'd create communication devices that connected universes over even greater distances than we do now. I'd bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. I'd make
Slowly
sure...
lifts up a hand.
Oh,
You'd help people.
I'd also fix my Red Bull.
That's fair. You can do that at the station in the wall, but
Not the same.
thank you, Louis. What about you, Mrs. Booker? What would you do if I gave you the key to the universe?
Maybe I'd look for the Anazali homeworld.
He slowly tilts his head at that. Also, hey, Gamers Ledge, thank you for the raid.
What's up, buddy? Sorry, I didn't want to talk over anybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Good to see
Dude,
you,
raid's
buddy.
got to be represented. You guys rock. Thank you. So, why would you search for my world, if I might ask? I don't often hear that.
I know what it's like to miss your home.
There's a small smile at that. You know, a number of my best scientists have told me more than once, if there is anything left of our homeworld, it's likely blasted, ruined. Our fleet space folded all at once, set off more ordnance than any war we've ever seen. It could just be rubble.
But then you'd know.
You don't disappoint, Miss Booker. Thank you. What of you, Amaya? But he looks over at you, Louis, and just like, relax, you did good. Like, just does this little like hand, like this little, you know.
I hope I didn't disappoint you. No,
I've seen firsthand its capabilities, its ability to be beneficial to those in need. But I feel like the best option would be to keep it, if not, to keep it somewhere safe where no one could ever use it, if
So
not
you protect
destroy it. And I say this because my concern then becomes, what happens if it falls into the hand of someone who is less benevolent?
So, Ms. Anahita, you would protect it, and failing that, you would destroy it. All
For the
right.
safety of the galaxy? Yes.
Orin smiles. And you, Mr. Kushitaka. The shadowed canopy is very rarely seen in this room. Not by my choice. Just rarely happens. What would you do with the most powerful weapon the galaxy has ever seen?
Use it to construct the final weapon the galaxy would ever need.
You would build a wall of swords around the galaxy.
I would offer people a choice.
There you have it. He sits down in the chair across from you. The galaxy in a nutshell. My people in a nutshell. He just gestures at the four of you. Some of you would try to fix the galaxy. Redemptionists. Others would bury it. Keep it safe. Keep it in the past. Mourners. Others would use it to make the galaxy something new. Hopefully something beautiful, an altruistic vision. Progressives. And finally, some would use it for security, for safety, as a sword or a shield, which anyone who's ever used either would know the edge of each can kill just as effectively as the other. My people have struggled with this concept since the founding of the Union. Many people have asked me how much technology we possess. They have asked me how much we're willing to give. Why, when my species sits on an archive of wonders, we hoard it so jealously? It's a good question, with an unfortunate answer. My people didn't know how to use that technology safely. I don't believe anyone does. However, I don't think burying it is responsible either. Building altruistically with it ignores the very real dangers of the galaxy, and turning it into a cudgel just invites someone to swing it. So, I feel the only safe place to leave it is in the hands of many. Normally, that would mean the Union at large, but that's both dangerous and stupid. The last time that we had a stellar forge, it built what we're standing on. And he gestures out the window, and you can see this Dyson ring stretching off into the distance. In order to make this mantle, this Dyson ring, it consumed every planet in this system. This is the singular structure here. And it depleted all the resources within its own battery. We incorporated what was left of it into the mantle to power it. To this day, it continues to keep this place warm. That and the star at its heart. Enough boliviating on my point. You all said what I hoped you would. Each of you represents a different perspective on how to use this, which means that between you four is where the answer to safely use the Stellar Forge lies. I will not entrust it to any one of you. I will entrust it to all of you. You will be the council that decides the fate of this one ring. I'm sure J.R.R. Tolkien would have loved me mentioning that.
Who?
Old Earth book. Don't worry about it. So,
It's a thing for nerds. It's not as good as people make out. Don't worry about it.
Nerds.
I think that actually he would probably give a little chuckle at that. Yes, just so. All right. I'm sold. If you want it, you're Voyagers. Effective now. That's it. I'm the director. It's not like there's any paperwork. I'll take care of it on my end.
We do need a ship.
Yes, you do. You'll be here for the next couple of days. We'll get that sorted out. You will get a ship and a crew to staff her. I'll leave that in your capable hands to figure out who you wish to hire. I can provide you a base crew, but specialists will be on your hands to handle.
Do we have
Furthermore,
access to private contractors, arms
most
manufacturers, or
assuredly
dealers?
you do. You do, yes.
I noticed he didn't ask Gallant anything.
No, he hasn't, actually. You can actually see Gallant has been standing quietly in the corner this whole time watching Orin. And actually, Becky, like, as you now have brought this up, you see that every once in a while Orin has been looking over at Gallant, and his eyes have briefly flickered. And then he looked away, and the one of you caught it, you saw Gallant's eyes flickering too.
Some sort of telepathic thing going on there, sure.
You're not quite sure what it is, but there's something.
I mean, I would assume data, like, it's...
Possibly.
But, yeah.
He is old as hell. You don't know how cybernetic he is. It's possible there's very little of him left that's original stock. Yes, you said contractors. We can arrange that. I also have a number of in-house craft. Good voyagers, unfortunately, die all the time. Their ships are left to be claimed, as is their crew. I can vouch for their loyalty. If you show them respect, or at least ensure authority, they'll serve you well. And of course, anything you do after that is on you. Voyagers are contractors, freelancers in the strictest of senses. I just ensure they don't get out of hand. And I don't usually have to worry too much about it. If voyagers get too dangerous for the galaxy at large, the good news about employing dangerous mercenaries is it's a self-policing problem. If they become an issue, I post a bounty. And the Voyager Corps handles its own. But you don't seem the kind I'm going to have to worry about that from. Any other questions? By all means. I have cleared the afternoon for you. It's not every day someone brings a relic of my people.
I feel like Becky would have so many culture questions.
I
That would just be, like, constant, like...
He would actually look over at you as like your mind starts like blazing with these questions. He just says, "We can save the small talk for lunch, Miss Booker. I'm referring to your career here."
Gone, am I?
do have something. Obviously, we have this in our possession, this relic, and there are people who are after it. Would you be able to provide us any assistance in perhaps narrowing and finding out who that is that could want such an item?
I have some thoughts on it. I'm going to ask you a very quick question. And he points past you, Amaya, to Kushtaka. Tell me, how much do you know about your former employer? Not the Frontier Corporation. I mean your real employer.
That jerk!
No judgment. It's a big galaxy and there's many questions to be had. But you'll have to forgive me. 6,000 years have taught me how to dig.
Not a lot, and they kept it that way on purpose.
I suspected as much. Tell me, do you know what happened to him? Where he is right now? Not many Anazali go missing.
Last we saw him was planetside.
Exactly when was the last time you saw him? Where did
Kushtaka
you
would
meet him?
remember Derek has ADHD.
You're good. The last time you guys saw him, he was waiting for you all at the dig site that you salvaged. Remember, you guys, that was literally with Paul and you when you had your solo fight against all the bugaboos. And he said he'd stay behind to watch the beacon. And then the next thing that happened was the planetary bombardment. And he just never showed up again.
Either he's kidnapped or implicated. I'm not. Look, Becky's not saying that.
Amaya's literally gonna be sitting there and be like, I've been told y'all. Like, I've been told y'all. Because that was like the first thing Amaya was like, nah, it had to be him. Because who the fuck else knew that this was here? It had to be.
Or at the very least, feeding information.
He's quietly sitting there waiting for you to remember and say anything.
Oh, sorry. No, I tell him. I tell him the last time that we saw him was when he said he would stay with the beacon, and that. Yeah.
Did you ever confirm his death?
No.
Then he's not dead. I can all but guarantee it. Good news. I think we dodged a bullet. Bad news. It's still flying out there somewhere, ready to hit someone. The man you met was once a friend of mine.
Once.
A difference of opinion. Unfortunately, one we spoke of here. The Anazali don't have nation states anymore. There's not enough of us left. Our civilization is an echo. There are many who believe my species will go extinct within the next several thousand years. I hope that's wrong, but at the moment I see nothing to change that. We die faster than we repopulate, and our gene pool is made for a population of billions, not millions. So, time is not on our side for the first time in our species' history. Irony. Unfortunately, we do, however, still align ourselves based on political ideals. The death of a world does not kill debate. If anything, it makes it more potent. I like to think that there might be something in the future, but I still struggle to look past what has happened to us. It almost feels kind to let us die. But that's not what my friend believed.
The galaxy would be emptier without you.
Unfortunately, I believe that the absence of us is better than the presence of what we once were. That is where Doral and I differ. Doral belongs to a political movement in my people. They call themselves restorationists. They believe that the Imperial, the Anazali Imperial, what my people used to call it, it was imperfect, but in concept, not a bad idea. They believe that someone must rule the galaxy, and that my people are best equipped to it.
Sounds more like they're just afraid.
Yes. Or they're tired. Either way. The good news is, for the most part, they don't have much political power, and my people have surrendered their political power in the Union for precisely this reason. The last thing I need is my people leveraging goodwill to turn themselves into tyrants. I'd rather we have no vote than that kind of suffrage. Doral believes the Imperial should be remade. Should he get that thing that you carry? He will most assuredly leverage it to create weapons of war, fleets, and even if he doesn't go militant, he will create a society to rival the Union. He will challenge us politically. And unfortunately, we will not be able to win. All the fleets in the galaxy can't do better than what fascists unfortunately get to do so swiftly. They make the trains run on time. They feed the poor. And then, when everyone starts disappearing, no one bothers to say anything. I've seen it happen too many times, on my world and others. I'm not willing to play that game again. I want this threat killed in its crib. So, that's where we stand. You want to know who's chasing you? I'm going to put money in Storal. And there's an Imperial resurgence somewhere out there setting its eyes on you.
Can we play them? Use that to our advantage.
You're smart. And you're Voyagers. There's no one I think that this is safer with. I can't trust the Mantle to protect it.
Louis over there like, eh!
I can think of at least 3 people, to be honest with you. Okay.
He holds out a hand. Mr. Kushataka's judgment is not my issue. And in fact, if anything, I like having his perspective here. Restorationists aren't wrong about one thing. The galaxy needs a strong guiding hand, but it doesn't need to be mine. The voice can be yours. It should be. My people fucked up enough. You all deserve a shot at it.
Well, humans aren't exactly the best to ask for that.
Yes, well, so far humans haven't created a galaxy-wide genocide, so there's that.
There's still time. Oh, yes.
For
So,
the record, I don't think anybody in this party can say that their species have done that.
yes. Well, that is unfortunately singularly my species' burden to bear.
Don't hold it against yourself. I'm sure you had nothing to do with it.
Like
The
that.
deadpan way of delivery.
He grins. Oh, yes. Wouldn't that be nice? So, let's have a chat with your friend, shall we? And he gestures to Becky and to what you're holding in your pocket. And that's where we're going to end the session for today.
Ooh. That was a good
Oh,
session,
no.
dude. Hell yeah.
That was juicy.
Hell yeah.
So juicy.
Shit be going down.
Thank you, guys. You did good. I love you all. You're great. You each get 3 experience.
Woo. Do I
And
get
congratulations
more than I
for
have?
officially becoming Voyagers. Welcome to spacefaring adventuring.
Do
Hell
I get
yeah.
more experience because I had 2 thingy bobs
You
at the
should-
start?
You should be right now at 16 experience total. Like, total.
Uh-huh.
Whatever that
Cool.
is compared to how much you've spent.
So 3 XP.
All
Hell
right.
yeah. That was
Derek, my
fucking sick,
friend.
dude.
Thank you, buddy. I love you. I turn it back over to you. Thank you for letting me go a little late.
Love you, buddy. Oh no, not late at all, dude. We're cleared to go to like 4:30, so we didn't really go
Seriously?
late in my book.
I'm willing to keep going. Fuck. I didn't.
no,
Let's at least have a
some of
bathroom
us-
break
I
at
have
that
to
pace.
pee.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
Paul's actually saying he needs to go. Though.
Oh, yeah,
Some
you
of
can
us-
go
I'm
to
saying for
end
future
here.
reference, we have the
Okay.
time slot go till 4:30. I think today
Yeah.
people are busy, but that's fine.
That's fair.
Some
I
of us
agree.
have to go
Let's
to
call,
bed.
Let's call it.
That's-
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
late
true.
for Paul.
It's 8 o'clock
It's
for
like
you.
10
Yeah,
p.m.
you're over
for
the
him,
pond.
11 p.m. for him. Yeah.
Jeez, yeah, let's get you to bed.
No,
Thank
it's
you
10,
guys, as
10
always.
For me. It's only 10 for me.
Okay,
Derek, my
still.
friend, I turn the reins of this stream back over to you.
Thank you guys so much for being here, to my fellow players. Thank you, Omni. Thank you for running such a ball mass session as always, dude. Love you, man. Chat, thank y'all for all the support. Thank you, Mark, for the raid. And let's get our shout outs going. Paul, where can people find you, homie?
Hello, my name is Paul, aka Ampersand. I have been playing the lovable Louis Vuitton this session. You can find me everywhere at Ampersand20. That is Twitter, Twitch, and tabletop TikTok. Nothing much happening for me until next week, where we've got Strahd and Homebrew Havoc, where Jack, the Giant Killer, has taken over as Dungeon Master.
Ooh,
Nice.
very cool.
He's almost killed my entire party after 18 months of game session. Almost
That's
killed
great.
them in one.
Hey, that's great.
GM
Puts
goals,
the
though.
fear of God back into him.
Yeah, gotta keep things fresh.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome, Paul. Well, thank you for being here, man. Thank you for being a part of the channel as always. You, for those of you who don't know, Paul's like one of the first GMs to ever run a game on this channel. That's not me,
Mhm.
so major shout outs to Paul. Love you, buddy. Thank you for being here.
Much love, guys. Much love.
Love to you. JJ, what's good, girl?
Hi friends, I'm JJ. You can find me on Twitch at BandReaper97, or you can find me over on Twitter at JJ_Cray. Super excited to be spending my weeks playing with Derek. It's always a pleasure, and I love this table. All my peeps, my homies, they're so cute. I love them. And Yeah, this has been great. I'm crying and throwing up on myself internally at that ending. That was fucking. I knew it. It was great. I had a wonderful session as always. Much love to you guys. Thank you to all the viewers. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Make sure that you follow, throw in some stuff in there. Much love, guys.
Much love to you. Much love to you. Thank you for being here as always, JJ. And Bon, I know you don't really have much to shout out, but where can people find you, dude?
Here every other Saturday playing Legacy, and on the Last Omnitext channel every other Thursday playing in Eteria. That's pretty much it.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you very, very much for being here, Bon. We love you. We appreciate you as always. You rule, girl. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
High five. Hell yeah.
And Omni, the last Omnitech, our favorite robot American. What's happening, dude?
Thank you, pal. Hello, everyone. I'm the last Omnitech, your favorite robot American, and I literally cannot avoid saying that. It's the ADHD in me. Thank you all for tuning in to Legacy First Flight, my fast and light tale in the world of tomorrow. This is the first ever live streamed game of my Legacy Storytelling in the World of Tomorrow system I've been working on for 20 years. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing it so far. We're going to keep going with this every other Saturday. I also run a Pathfinder 2e campaign, Wild Skies of Eteria, my lighter than air Pathfinder 2e game, every other Thursday, same weeks as Legacy. So if you've seen Legacy this week, then no, not this next week, but the week after, Eteria is coming on Thursday in the evening, 7:30 p.m. EST, and Legacy will be back here at 12:30 p.m. CST, because Derek runs his channel off of Central Time. And other than that, I do world building, I do art, and I do rule smithing. Tune in to my channel. I stream Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays every week. One of those three things. Hell, even hangouts where we chat and relax and talk about things. And oh boy, this coming Thursday's Breakfast Club, where we all hang out, chat, and have a little breakfast date, is going to be fun because a lot has been happening in the TTRPG community, and we got to talk about it. And also, I want to fish in Destiny, so we're going to have to do all that. Derek, I love you, buddy. Thank you, as always, for having me in the game. Truly, and also having me run this on your channel. It is an honor, and I genuinely appreciate you letting me do this here.
Dude, thank
and
you
to
for
all of
being
you guys out there watching, thank you. It means a lot.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for running it. I really appreciate it, man. It's really cool to be able to host something that you've been working so hard on for so long. I feel very honored that you let us be the home for the First Flight, man. Means the world. Much love, dude.
Thank you, man. Same.
All right, folks. Well, we are going to be calling the stream for there. Unfortunately, there's not going to be Covet tonight because a couple of our homies are hanging out in real life, which is fucking awesome. That's fucking great. Red and Elise are spending some time together. They live in opposite states, in different states. So, them traveling to spend some time together, that's fantastic. We love to see it. But we will probably be playing some Magic in the Discord. So if you want to come play some Magic on Spell Table or Tabletop Simulator, we'll probably find a way to blend the two so those who wish to play cross-platform, as it were, can do so. But thank you all again for being here. I love y'all. I appreciate you. And next time I'll be seeing you will be Monday over on Red's channel, twitch.tv/RedemptionVA. We're playing Soldiers of Fortune, Pathfinder 2e actual play. On Tuesday, we'll be back over on Red's channel with some Magic, some Commander stuff. All states are opposites. Yeah, I suppose that's not too different. That's not too far off. Wednesday, we have Mouse Guard coming back at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, hosted by our favorite robot American yet again. And then on Friday, we'll be back with Darker Stars, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next Saturday, we'll be back here with Booty at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, our piratical Pathfinder adventure. And then with Covet Syndicate, we return at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you all again for being here. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will see you very soon. Bye.
Peace.